What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 235th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I am your host, SBJ, and with me is it's just the two of us. Travis is with me today.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Didn't quite. It's more like just the two of us. I think it's up there. Hey, how are you?
Good. You got a pretty decent singing voice, Travis.
Thanks, Steve. Most people just make fun of me.
No, it's good. I'm super tone deaf when it comes to anything. Things are good. I didn't want to talk about Destiny, but
I guess we're here. I mean,
you're singing.
You can't say I forced you into doing it because all I did was sing just the two of us.
You reminded me of that because there is an achievement in Destiny that you have to ring 7 bells, and you need more than one person to do it. So me, Irene, Micah, and my friend Tyler are like, there's 6 bells, so we have to like move between them to ring them in a certain order. Pretty much we have to play the song, the Rise of Iron song from the new expansion. And they were like, well, as soon as you hear the bell, move to the next one and get ready. And I was like, honestly, guys, I think all the bells sound exactly the same. And I know they don't, but you just have to tell me what the bell's number. Like, don't tell me that it rung. Just give me the number. Let me know. I'll move. After we played the song, I didn't hear any song. I just heard gongs. But we did it. We got the achievement. I can't hear anything. Maybe that's good or bad in a talking only podcast.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show that you stick with your strengths, and we're not going to be starting a musical version of ISC anytime soon.
Not yet. Not with that attitude, Travis. What's new with you?
Still been playing Pokemon Go. I realize I'm probably the last person on Earth. Although I'm not the last person on Earth, and here's proof. My city has, and I realize this is true of a lot of places, but Grand Rapids has a very small Team Instinct presence if the gyms are to be indicative of the population.
Okay.
To the extent that until today, I had never seen an Instinct gym that lasted more than a day. I discovered a level 6 Instinct gym kind of by where I live, but I was walking a ways. And there was just a level 2 Mystic gym pretty close to me. It was before that, it was pretty high level. So I thought, oh, it's only level 2 right now. I can take it. So I went out and it was Valor. It was Valor. And so I went out and I took over the gym and I kept walking to the next Pokestop nearest me. And I turned around after reaching that Pokestop, and it was maybe 10 minutes later, and there was already some dude parked by that gym taking it back for Valor in the span of like 10 minutes. So
I still think that situation is weird, and I've done it. I've been in that situation where I pull my car over on the side of the road to do something in Pokemon Go, and it obviously because you want to be safe and everything, but to see somebody on the side of the road looking at their phone, and you're playing Pokemon Go, so you know exactly what they're doing. It's still like why this game exists and it's there and it's still weird. I think, to me at least, I don't know.
Well, the weirdest thing is that the dude was on call. I mean, either it was a coincidence that he happened to be driving by right after, or perhaps he lives very close and could see from his house the instinct filth that I am took over his gym and hopped in the car. But even still, that's a weird action to make, to say, stop everything. I need to go and take back the gym next to the McDonald's. That's kind of odd. The best part is that as I walked by, because I had to, walk by on my way back to my apartment, I saw him in his car and I just gave a little wave, like we're both here for the same reason.
Right.
I know that the cruel thing that you just did to my the one of 2 Instinct gyms in like 50 square miles.
Let's do a healthy living update here. So Do you consistently walk? Are you a walker? Are you one that moves the legs across the sidewalks?
I really enjoy walking and biking. It took Pokemon Go for me to get back into walking. Since I graduated from college, I guess I haven't been as good at getting on my bike or going for a walk. But when I was in college, I went on a lot of bike rides and walks. And then I kind of let it drop off. But Pokemon Go has provided the incentive for me to walk again.
I see.
What about you?
Still drinking the water and drinking the Soylent. I consider Soylent healthy living because it's my alternative to then going to McDonald's, right? Anything has to be better than that.
Yeah.
I had a listener, though, write in after our big Fiji water debate. And they wrote in this pretty long email and they attached a link. And my apologies for not having that email up, but they pretty much asked me not to buy and drink Fiji water. And they said I should just stick to Smart Water. Both waters I enjoy a lot. And the water debate of, those are more expensive waters. And I think they taste obviously different than tap water. And I think a lot of tap water tastes different too. I might be tone deaf, but I feel like I can taste the difference in a lot of different waters.
All of your ability to differentiate tones has been channeled into your ability to differentiate taste.
Right. I usually only drink Smart or Fiji water, or I should say I only buy those different too. And when I was at the store, I forgot to buy and I was at checkout and I turned around and I was like, Dasani, I guess 24 for $4, sure. And I just bought that. And I know Dasani's made by Coke, I believe. I know that it's probably
that's right.
It's probably tap water. But 24 bottles of water for $4. That is a heck of a deal compared to Smart Water, which is like $6 for 6.
Right.
So I think that I'm like working my way back down to tap water because I'm definitely okay
step by step.
Yeah, I'm definitely okay with Dasani now. And I don't know if I told the story to the listeners. The reason why I hated water, like I was a very 6 cans of soda a day kind of guy. When I was trying to get healthier, I started with Water Joe actually, which was water with caffeine, which is fine. It's good, but that's what I drank in the morning when I went off soda for 30 days. And I'm working my way back down to kind of being okay with any water. So I think I'll stick with Dasani for now, unless there's something bad about Dasani. But Coke makes both Smart Water and Dasani. So healthy living update. We got a show for you guys today. 8 minutes in, let me lay out the show here. We got the third Pokemon Generations short. We have 4 new Pokemon to talk about. A couple small articles. And then, if you're a new listener, or if you're here and you made it past the first 8 minutes of Pokemon Go and Water Talk, we have an interview with Adam, who is also probably known better as Gaijinhunter. He does the YouTube videos of the weapon tutorials and the item tutorials in Monster Hunter 4U, Monster Hunter Generations, Monster Hunter Cross. He is an American that moved out to Japan when he was 21. He's been in Japan for 16 years. He just got up and pretty much went to Japan without knowing much of the language. From my understanding, he learned it mostly while he was there. So that if his Twitter or his talking about being on the show has brought you here, that interview is about an hour long and should probably appear, 45 minutes to an hour into the show. I'm not exactly sure how long Travis and I will ramble about the stuff we have. And then after that, Adam does talk Pokemon Go as well as some other Pokemon stuff, but we do talk a bit about Monster Hunter and getting into Monster Hunter, people first impressions with Monster Hunter, stuff like that, because Monster Hunter is a super intimidating game, but I think there's a lot of overlap between the Monster Hunter community and the Pokemon community, and we also talk about that. So then he requested the Pokemon of the Week, which Travis has, and he will make a moveset for. But with that being said, let's dive into some news. First bit of news here is the 19th movie, the Y and Z Collection, Volume 1. And the Gold and Silver LE editions, or collections, all those DVDs are to be released in Australia finally. So that's going to be Pokemon the Movie, Volcanion, and the Mechanical Marvel. That's a mouthful.
The Mechanical Marvel being the new Pokemon, right? Magearna?
Yes, yeah. That's Magearna and Volcanion. That's coming to Australia on December 7th. Pokemon XYZ Collection number 1 coming also to Australia on December 7th. That's going to be a 3-disc, 22-episode. Pokemon the series Gold and Silver Limited Edition Collection. I'm not sure what that has, but that's 8 discs, 158 episodes. No day, December 7th as well.
That must be the Johto.
Yeah, that's Johto. Series? I see the box here. It's a bigger box than has Totodile, Cyndaquil, Chikorita on the front. I don't know if it comes with anything or if it's just 8 DVDs.
It's just weird because wasn't the Johto anime not really even called Gold and Silver because it was Pokemon Johto Adventures or whatever? It's weird that they're calling it Gold. I mean, Pokemon maybe I'm
Johto.
wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Australia had different naming. I just know we have a lot of listeners from Australia, so I figured that news was worth covering. Jirachi Wishmaker and Destiny Deoxys also coming to Australia, and that also and Pokemon Forever, Celebi, the Voice of the Force, Pokemon Heroes, Latios and Latias. Some hot Ash on Pokemon action in that movie, from what I've been told. Those are coming.
From what you've been told by you, because you perpetually bring that up every time anyone mentions that movie. Don't act like you weren't the person who brought that topic to this podcast every time.
You're not wrong. That's coming.
I just hope at some point we figure out what your fixation with Ash kissing Latias. I hope we can have that psychological deep dive to figure out why that in particular tickles you so.
I mean, if you were to pick one moment in a movie, that's the moment in that movie.
Maybe for some people, Steve.
Those are all coming in Australia on November 9th. The Pokemon Forever, Pokemon Heroes, and Jirachi will use a 4.3 aspect ratio. Gross.
Yeah.
Destiny Deoxys will be widescreen 16:9. I'm sorry, Australia. I'm pretty sure those movies were shot in widescreen. I definitely.
Well, it's full screen. You get the full experience, right? That's how it works.
Oh, that's what my mom used to say.
I don't want to be missing anything with widescreen. I think
she was She was always like, full screen is the full movie. Widescreen, you get black bars. You don't get as much of the movie. This is when we had those CRTs.
I think, thankfully, that misconception has died away. Can you even buy standard? Do they call it standard? No, they call it full screen. Can you even buy full screen?
I'm sure like Walmart is nothing but like full screen $5 movies. It has to be. Speaking of my mom, she didn't have her car on Friday and Saturday, so I had to take her to work one day and then take her home the next. My mom was pretty into Pokemon when it first came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she really liked. She played my sister's Red. So for Christmas, my sister got Red. I got Blue because obviously Blue is a boy's color and Red is very like red is the girl's color. Duh. So my sister, not the biggest gamer, but we both had Game Boys, and I was 100% completely sucked into Pokemon Blue, obviously. And my mom and my sister kind of shared a cartridge because my sister would have a lot of difficulty with the game, even though she was like older than me and whatnot. But my mom was a big fan of like the Squirtle line and everything, and so she played some Pokemon. She also loved the mini games in Pokemon Stadium. My mom, one of the biggest Mario Party fans in the world. So when you take those mini games out and you add Pokemon to them, that she was 100% in for that. just loved the mini games in Stadium. She loved Pokemon Snap. Big fan. Who didn't love Pokemon Snap is the better.
True.
As Pokemon progressed, she loved Pokemon Pinball as well. Big pinball fan. Kind of as I got older and we moved away from the Nintendo 64 and we moved away from the Game Boys, she didn't really play Pokemon as much. I mean, she still played like the newer Mario Karts and stuff. Like right now, I would say my mom is the Candy Crush gamer, the like little like iPhone slot machine kind of thing. Definitely still into Mario Party and stuff. But anyways, so I'm taking her to work, bringing her home, and we're just talking about stuff. I was telling her about the Destiny expansion just because she asked why I was up till like 6 a.m. And then she was like, "Oh, do you still play Pokemon Go?" And I was like, "Yeah, like maybe an hour or so a week, nothing religiously." And she like had things to say about Pokemon Go. Like she has been in the deep end with Pokemon Go, and I love how. So I butcher Pokemon names all the time. I think that's both frustrating for people and also enjoyable for people, from what I've been told. But my mom called Vaporeon. She was like, my highest Pokemon. She always says Pokemon too. She's like, "What's your highest Pokemon?" And I was like, "I don't know, Mom. Probably like 1,200." And so she's like, "That's it." She's like, she's like, "This is mine." She's like, "This is my Vipermon." And it's I was like, "Excuse me?" And I looked at the screen. I was like, "Mom, that's Vaporeon." And
You're one to talk, though. It runs in the family.
It does. I was raised with both. I had a speech problem. I don't know if I've ever said this. I had a really, really bad speech problem as a kid. And I when I was in elementary school, I got pulled out of class. I was, you have 32 kids in a class or whatever. At least my elementary school did. And I was pulled out every single day at like 2 p.m. For speech. And I thought I was both excited because I felt special that I was like handpicked to like do this extra activity, but I also felt a little like disappointed that I felt like I was missing something. I don't remember much about elementary school, but I remember I couldn't say the word boat. And all I was trying to say was like, as a kid, I feel like most kids are very excited about like trucks and buses and like trains and everything. And I think like for the first time as like a 5 or 6 year old or however old I was, I like saw my first boat, and I was trying to explain that to my teacher as my mom was dropping me off, and they were both looking at me, and I was like I said, I was like 5 or 6, and I'm like crying because I just wanted to tell them I saw a boat, and the word I was saying, they just didn't understand. They didn't know. Yeah, and so I had a speech problem. I clearly, obviously, still do have a speech problem. Like I can't say the word volume and some other type of words, and I get a little hassle for that on stream or whatnot, and that's totally fine. I think that people laughing at the fact that I can't say certain words is like slightly like makes me glow on the inside. That like just I can make somebody laugh, and that's fine, and they joke about it. But my mom definitely knows Weedle. She has no problem saying, like, expressing her hate for Weedle to me, and she calls Pidgey the bird. She calls Ekans the snake. She calls Eevee the dog. So she's very stuck in like.
So why doesn't she call Vaporeon? Why doesn't she call Vipermon the water dog?
The water dog, right? Her favorite Pokemon is Zapdos, so she was on Team Instinct. She was very upset with me that I was on Team Mystic, and I was like, I just liked Articuno more than Moltres and Zapdos. But her favorite thing in Pokemon Go, which I thought was interesting. Her absolutely favorite thing was hatching eggs. And to me, I don't. Yeah, they're there, but I don't. I just think it's cool that Pokemon Go is this pretty simple game, and for her to be like, "This is my favorite part," is when an egg hatches, and when I go to a Pokestop and I get a new egg, and I can get ready for it to hatch. And yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I want to secretly I want to like record a conversation with me and my mom and her telling me her love of Pokemon Go and you guys hearing how she says Pokemon names, because to me they're they're really like, yeah, keep going. This is great. This is gold.
And people thought my mispronunciations were funny. Keep going, keep going.
Let me tell you about Vipermon. What do we got here? Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions. They are still touring. They're actually coming to Milwaukee on September 30th at the Riverside Theater. Hopefully I am going. I say that it's like 5 days away, but I'm actually supposed to be going to Minnesota that weekend. So trying to see how much time I need to get there and what we're actually doing in Minnesota. So I'm not sure if I'm leaving Friday or if I'm leaving Saturday. But that's going to be at the Riverside in Milwaukee, September 30th. They are going to France October 7th and October 8th at the Grand Rex. They're coming back into Dallas, Texas, October 29th. They will be in Mexico City October 31st and November 1st at the Pepsi Center. I don't know why that's so funny to me. The Pepsi Center in Mexico City, Mexico. Moving on to Atlanta, Georgia, November 19th. Miami, Florida, December 3rd. And then wrapping up for the rest of the year, London at the Inventum Apollo Theater on December 19th and December 20th. So if you have not been to Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions, I definitely think that is... If you're listening to this podcast, you're clearly a Pokemon fan. And if you haven't treated yourself to Symphonic Evolutions, I think there's 2 ticket ranges. There's the $35 tickets and the $75 tickets. Just get the $35 tickets. Go with a friend. I feel like it's like one of the best and most entertaining 2 to 3 hours that you could have as a Pokemon fan. I think I've been to 2. I think Will's been to 2 or 3. They just seem to be in the DC area a little more. And from my understanding, talking with some of the people that work on that show, they do switch up the songs a bit. Like I said, I think it's definitely worth going. If you want more information for that, PokemonSymphony.com to check that out. Final bit of news here is probably by the time you're listening to this, Victini will be said and done September 1st through September 24th. You can get Victini through the Nintendo Network. It usually always works a day or two afterwards. It pretty much works up to the next Pokemon. But if you have a copy of Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, X or Y, you'll be able to you should still be able to get Victini. It was level 100. Let's talk about next month though. October 1st through October 24th, you'll be able to get Keldeo, the My Little Pony Pokemon. That's going to be also through the Nintendo Network, so no GameStop needed. Keldeo will be level 100. It is a water/fighting type Pokemon with the ability Justified. It knows the moves Aqua Jet, Double Kick, Bubble Beam, and everyone's favorite, Leer.
That's an odd pick there. I just had a flashback. I don't know. I don't remember what tournament it was for. It must have been before Nationals. It must have been before. My memory might be completely incorrect, but I remember an argument that I did not partake in, but instead just watched in the chat box of, I don't know if it would have been Pokemon Showdown or I guess it probably would have been Showdown at that point, where Keldeo had not yet come out and a tournament was around the corner and Keldeo was supposed to come out before the tournament, and people were arguing about whether or not Keldeo would completely break the meta upon its release or not. And maybe I'm making all of this up, but I have a vague memory of seeing that argument happen. And if memory serves, it did not shake up the meta as much as people thought, although it is a very good Pokemon.
Remember in the TCG, Keldeo was extremely popular with a Blastoise deck. I heard the movie was bad. That was one of the few movies I have not seen. Is the Keldeo movie. Speaking of animation and movies, Pokemon is doing these $4 shorts $4 shorts, 4-minute shorts. $4 shorts gets you right in. I keep calling them trailers because to me it seems like a trailer to a movie, but they're short animated. It's a short animated series, 18 episodes, 1 episode a week. We covered episodes 1 and 2 last week pretty in depth. I was pretty happy with how that coverage turned out. As for our Giovanni talk and Giovanni's gym being closed and then reopening, giving Ash and Gary, or Blue and Red, badges, a lot of people tweeted or wrote in explaining that there were more than 8 gyms in the Kanto region. And so, for example, Gary, if I'm not mistaken, in the anime had 10 badges before he challenged Giovanni, which would be his 11th badge. And another person explained that the fighting gym next to Sabrina's gym was closed, but that used to be a gym.
I saw that same tweet, and so I looked it up, and from what the research I did, it seems like the fighting dojo competed with that's Koga. That's the same town as Koga's gym, right?
No, the fighting dojo was in Saffron, which was
okay.
Sabrina's gym and the Slivko. Yeah,
you just said that. So what I saw said that the dojo competed with Sabrina's gym to be the gym for the town, but always lost because of the type advantage.
Yeah, because
so what I said was a gym.
What I said before was like gyms are like the hub of the city.
Right.
So it wouldn't make sense for a city to have 2 gyms. That would be like a city having two
shopping malls in one town. How outrageous!
Or like 2 city halls.
Right.
The other, yeah. So I could subscribe to that theory that there are more than 8 gyms in a region. Like I definitely.
Where are they hiding though?
Yeah, that's true. Where are they? Show them to me. The other thing that I thought was interesting is somebody said that there was an investigator on the SS Anne in Red and Blue, and that possibly could have been Looker back in the day. I don't remember that too well.
I don't either, and I can't. There's nothing wrong with saying that was the case. It makes it more fun. So
yeah,
if it's plausible, why not just decide that's what it is?
Sure. Episode 3 is called The Challenger, and it opens with a panning down to the Elite Four. They really went overboard with the animation in this trailer, I keep saying it. This short. But before we move on from the showing of the Elite Four, what are your thoughts of the opening of this?
Oh, I thought it was probably one of the Pikachu one. The first one was probably the best of these. I think that the Pikachu short was likely my favorite, although I did like this third one better than I liked the second one with Looker and Giovanni. I thought that the battle animation was pretty, although we only saw a tiny tidbit of the battles that Blue does with the Elite Four. It again poses a confounding lore question in the same way that almost all of these have, where you wonder, given that Lance is just a member of the Elite Four at this point, who was the champion before Blue got there? Was it just no one? What does the role of the champion signify? It signifies sometimes one of them
sitting in a dark room waiting for somebody.
Right, and so you can kind of. So at first, when I was watching it with Carly, my significant other, she was saying, "Wait, do they?" As we were watching it, she was saying, "Wait, do they just wait there? Did they just stand around until someone shows?" And I was like, no. It must just be when they're notified that someone has 8 gym badges,
right?
Then they show up.
to me, it was going back to like city councils or like courthouses or juries. It was like, we are summoned for our duty.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like at the end when Red rolls into the room where Blue, into the champions halls where Blue is sitting, that he seems surprised that Red is there. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought he seemed to be expecting.
Oh, okay. So then maybe that explanation is correct.
Yeah, so it opens with all four of their doors opening and them talking about how a challenger is coming, and L'Oreal saying that, don't worry guys, you won't get to battle because I will stop him first. We see L'Oreal, Agatha, Bruno, and Lance. Bruno says nothing.
While we're on that subject, did you notice? It seems like Lorelei was depicted way more male gazy than she is in any other media. Am I wrong about that?
What do you mean by male gazy?
At the risk of just putting it in such blunt terms, it looked like her breasts were gigantic compared to how they're depicted, like in the art for the games.
Yeah. I mean, in this, if you were to flip the coin, they made Agatha real old, and they really put some line work into her face.
And I also think that Bruno had more abs than humans do.
Right. I think
I didn't count, but I think he had like more than a human is supposed to. So there was some.
I think you were 100% right.
All over the place.
I think you're 100% right, but I would take that further and say all four of them were definitely pushed in their respective directions to the max. No one has. I never thought
of Lorelei as this sex object, so I guess that's why that one surprised me more than seeing Bruno be a strong man, because Bruno is already a strong man.
Yeah, I think it's hard to get a sexy person across in 16-bit pics.
Sure.
Yeah, so they get together, they do their thing. I think it's interesting that so far in these 3 episodes, they never say the words Blue or Red or Ash or Gary. And of course, there is big debate, and everyone gets very frustrated if you call Red Ash or if you call Gary Blue, or because clearly they're different people. If you were to ask me, I would say you're thinking too hard about it, because Blue and Gary literally have Professor Oak as their grandpa. So to me, they're pretty much similar people. They're also both jerks, and they're also both cocky, and they're also both very confident.
And I would add into the mix the fact that the manga characters are named Red and Blue, and those are technically different iterations and different canons than the video games, which are then different. So like, just even saying Red or Blue doesn't narrow it down to a single person anyway, so why be pedantic about it? They're all the same people.
Right. I don't know. I would love somebody to point me to the article that says like these are very different people and why. It's like different versions of Batman, right? Batman is still Batman, but the Batman you see in the 60s is different than the Batman with Heath Ledger, which is different than the Batman and Superman. But at the end of the day, it's still Batman.
Especially considering that Satoshi and Ash are both alternate names when you start the game. Mm-hmm. In addition to Red, so it's just. And what is it for Blue? What do they call it? Is his name is the alternate name for Blue, and is Gary's name in Japanese? Is it? I don't remember what it is.
I don't remember. There's also like a third name for all of them. Like I think Red was like Alan or something.
Yeah, and regardless, I understand why people like to differentiate the characters, because it lets you talk about what specific character, it lets you refer to a specific character and a specific interpretation of that character. But to correct someone when you know exactly what they're talking about is a little ludicrous, especially considering that even saying Red and Blue doesn't narrow it down to manga or video game.
Right. I'm pretty sure that they're not going to use the terms red or blue or Ash and Gary just to prevent that debate or that debacle. Or maybe
you're right.
Maybe they don't care or they don't notice. It's not like Pokemon. It's not like TCPI came out and said this is specifically this person, specifically this person. But who's to say that the red character isn't something that's supposed to represent you still? I think even if you were to name, if I was to go through red and blue and I name myself Steve and I name my rival Travis, even when I'm playing, the Travis character is still cocky, is still confident, is still
just
a
like
jerk.
me in real life.
Right,
Cocky
exactly.
And confident. I wish I was confident.
So it does still kind of fit this like mold of your rival is this personality, which is what they show in the Challenger episode. So we get this pan around of all four of them meeting, walking together, pretty much getting ready. We go through 8 doors, and we see the Challenger walk up, which in this terms I'll just use the word blue because why not? Pushes through the door. We see, is it Lorelei? I always thought it was Laura. Now I can't even remember.
I think it's Lorelei.
L'Oreal. Because I was always thinking of the hair shampoo. This is the first battle between the two of them is probably like the longest and the coolest. We see an Alakazam versus a Lapras. I think the animation is great. I think we see the first time from like Lapras's perspective of like looking around trying to figure out where Alakazam is, and then Alakazam slamming Lapras into the ground, and a lot of showboating and a lot of like I like the jerk rival a lot.
Yeah, the animations characterize him better than the dialogue, I think.
Right. Oh yeah, the dialogue is super corny. I'm like replaying it without the dialogue. I think this is something you see obviously in wrestling, where you see a quote unquote bad guy or a heel, and they're just overly cocky, they're showboating, they think they're unbeatable, they're bad winners. And we see that with Blue, where he pretty much insults them on his way into the next room. I think that makes the good guy winning, or your character, just more satisfying. And they definitely set that up in the video games. They're showing that experience here in episode 3. That is just like a trope they use in other forms of media, like I said, wrestling. Like if the heel or the bad guy has a title and they keep winning, it's more satisfying when you can finally take that away from them.
Right.
I don't think Bruno says anything the entire time. I don't remember.
He doesn't say anything at the very beginning?
He doesn't say anything at the beginning, but he does say something when Blue walks in. We see Machamp versus, I'm waiting for him to throw out, Pidgeot. I've never been a fan of, in any of the anime or the movies, a Pokemon slamming into their trainer, slamming into a wall, putting a hole in the wall.
That's where you draw the line?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's ridiculous, or just because it's overused? Why?
I think a little column A, little column B.
Sure. I mean, I can't argue there. I guess I don't have that specific hatred towards that very hyper specific motif, but I guess now that you say it, it does happen a lot.
I think it definitely shows that Bruno is a brick house and didn't flinch at all when he got slammed into the wall. But Machamp went down very quickly. This is also the second time we've seen Machamp in 3 episodes.
True. Also, a second time we've seen a Machamp. Did it go through the wall this time? Or
No,
just
he didn't
slam
go through. He just slammed. They should exchange notes on wall breaking techniques.
Yeah, why is that one in the Elite Four? We saw some more impressive stuff from the episode 2's Machamp. I think Bruno needs to set up a trade.
We open with Agatha's battle of Rhyhorn being on all 4, which I think is interesting. I think I love seeing that perspective of Rhyhorn on all 4, because you see the salamander in him. You see the lizard form of Rhyhorn, except obviously he's all rock. And I think we don't see that often. We see just Rhyhorn on two legs and it's standard sprite animation. Rhyhorn taking down an Arbok. Agatha is the most interesting character with the same amount of screen time and the same amount of, what's the word? It's not like they focus on any of the Elite Four characters more than others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just with Agatha's Pokemon and Agatha's presence, and especially in this episode, you can just tell that Agatha has the most character and lore behind her.
Yeah, she's interesting, and just the fact that she's an old woman is cool.
She has a cane, a staff, and a Pokeball is embedded in the top, and she opens that up for her last Pokemon. And the way that Gengar pours out of it is something I would have never thought in the 20 years of Pokemon to happen. Like, every Pokeball has been thrown and open and then returned, and how she's
nothing new under the Pokemon Sun version.
And just seeing Gengar pour out into the shadow and then morph up is just amazing. We don't see that battle though. We just see Gengar stick his tongue out, and then we go on to Lance. Lance is your stereotypical I'm the leader for no good generic reason, except I have dragon Pokemon and there's only Dragonite line is the only dragons.
You're gonna get hate for that. A lot of people love Lance. I'm not one of them, but a lot of people cite Lance as their favorite champion.
Lance is the champion in the wrong generation. He is the champion in a generation where Dragonite is the only good dragon line.
Wait, no. He's not champion in Gen 1.
Oh,
that's blue.
Right.
He's champion in Gen 2.
But doesn't he still
can also get Kingdra, I guess? I think he still has 2 Dragonites.
Right, he still has 2 Dragonites. That's my problem with Lance.
Let me pull up his team just so we're right.
I'm pretty sure in Red and Blue, he has 2 Dragonites, 1 Dragonair, an Aerodactyl, and a Gyarados. That is what I'm pretty sure he has.
His team in Red and Blue is Gyarados, Dragonair, Aerodactyl, Dragonite.
He doesn't even have 2 Dragonites. He has 2 Dragonair. Oh my gosh.
And then in yellow, it's the same, so I don't know why they listed twice. Oh, maybe the moves change or something.
Probably.
Yeah, they do. There's a difference in moveset. Then in gold, silver, and crystal, he... So the thing about gold, silver, and crystal is that it adds Kingdra, right? It adds another dragon for him to play around with. Except now his team is, and this is out of order just for the sake of the joke, his team is Gyarados, Charizard, Aerodactyl, Dragonite.
Perfect. What a team.
It's in gold and silver that he has multiple Dragonites, and it's 3.
And no Kingdra.
Correct.
That right there is my core problem with Lance.
Yeah, you're not even going. Apparently, it takes till the rematch in Fire Red and Leaf Green for him to finally get on the Kingdra train.
The episode does make Dragonite look a little intimidating. Blue throws out Blastoise. We don't see a battle here. I mean, we see 2 moves go at each other in a bunch of smoke.
And the rest is up to our imaginations.
The unsatisfying ending happens of Blue sitting in the dark in the champion arena, looking at a Pokeball, waiting for Ash/Red/whoever/you.
Yeah.
I think the ending does more harm than good.
In what way?
It obviously strikes the memory in you of remembering your first time getting to the champion spot at the Elite Four, right? Of I finally beat the Elite Four. Okay, there's more. There's more. And it does at least strike with me that challenge of like I remember the first time I beat Lance after, countless hours and tries, and feeling so good once I beat Lance, and then not knowing that there was another fight and that I only had like one Pokemon left at like 2 HP, and then being like broken in half to start over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it's hitting at. But and I think it hits that very well. In the aspect of the lore and just the Pokemon universe, I think it fails at accomplishing or providing the viewer what the champion's role is in the Pokemon universe. Like
I would concur. Like I said, it's the fact that there presumably is no champion before Blue beats the Elite Four begs the question: what is the role of the champion then?
Because we don't.
And why isn't Lance just the champion and they get some other chump to be the fourth Elite Four? Like, why couldn't they just do that? Is it that no one in the Elite Four can defeat the other three members, or how does it? And it's the same with all of these shorts. They beg a lot more questions that they answer, and it just becomes frustrating.
Obviously, I don't ever imagine the Elite Four just sitting in their rooms waiting for people. I always imagine that, somebody goes through the gates to the Elite Four and they register for challenging the Elite Four, and then the Elite Four get together for the challenge.
They get an email.
They get a text on their phone letting them know at 2 p.m. tomorrow they got to battle some chump.
You've got until some chump makes it through Victory Road to get your stupid butts up to the Indigo Plateau.
Right. Like, that is their job, though. I am sure, besides the four of them battling people who have 8+ gym badges, I am sure they do something in the Pokemon world or their region, just like how a gym leader is supposed to help run the town. So when a champion comes and becomes champion, one would assume they have to defend that championship. Then one would assume they have some other role. It's just hard to imagine being the best and being champion and then not knowing what that entails besides defending. Maybe that's enough.
You're not going to get an answer from me because I'm just as confused as you are. And I'm sure we'll get, and I'll preempt this, I'm sure we'll get tweets with people that provide some explanations, but regardless of whether or not you can come up with an explanation, I think it's fair to say that in the same way that the explanations we got for, so what's going on in Viridian City when Giovanni's not hanging out, that those explanations are referring to very specific events in the anime, like seeing Gary have 10 badges that don't really have an explanation, that again answer more or ask more questions than they answer, because hey, where are those other 3 towns or whatever? That most of the explanations you can find for these things beg a lot more questions, and it just proves that while those things are satisfying in the game and to some extent the anime, when the actual functioning of the society is secondary to the content, it seems like these shorts are attempting to flesh out the Pokemon world and show the workings of them, if the second short is any indication. And so it's frustrating to me, at least, when their attempts to do that just make me more confused.
I couldn't say it better myself. I enjoyed, while we're being critical, that's not to say I didn't enjoy my 5 minutes watching it.
Yeah, I thought this one was all right. I mean, I think you like these. You've been liking these more than I have.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, no, I liked them. I liked, out of all the people in the Pokemon world, I think the gym leaders and the Elite Four are the most interesting, because they seem to stay stagnant with the history of the towns they reside in and the regions they reside in.
I'm more interested in the Name Raider. What's the Name Raider's deal?
Maybe they'll uncover that.
Is that all you do? And also, how can you tell that I traded a Pokemon away? And why does that make... Or how can you tell that a Pokemon I'm asking you to rate is a traded Pokemon? And why does that automatically make its name the greatest on the planet? There's so many questions.
I'm assuming that next week we won't be talking about the Kanto region anymore. I feel like now that we've seen the Kanto Elite Four, it would be weird to go back.
I bet you're right.
I'm sure we'll see Johto. They have to pretty much cover 6 generations in 18 episodes. So while there will be crossover, I'm like Looker, for example, I'm sure that there are other stories to tell. And actually, that's more exciting to me because if anything, I feel like I am a pretty big expert on Red and Blue just because that was my entire childhood. And that's why I remember all the gyms and all the gym leaders, and I have the memories of in Lavender Town and Cubone and the Elite Four and discovering Articuno and the first time in the power plant. Like, I remember all those so vividly. And yeah, so I'm very curious to see if the remaining episodes can also trigger those memories in me. But we're going to trigger a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some new Pokemon, and we only have 4 to talk about. We've already touched on 2, so we will be right back with our break, and then we're moving into our interview, and then our Pokemon of the week. Hey there, Pokemon Podcast listeners. Do any of you play Minecraft? Did you know that you can play Pokemon on Minecraft with a mod, Pixelmon? Join the Pixelmon server that cares about bringing you the best Pokemon experience out there at play.journeygaming.com. Journey Gaming has 4 different Pokemon servers themed after the regions Hoenn, Sinnoh, Kanto, and Johto. Check out their website at journeygaming.com or jump right into Pixelmon experience on their server at play.journeygaming.com. I want to give a shout out to Pure_Riddle for this sponsorship over at journeygaming.com. Thank you so much for supporting It's Super Effective. And we are back from our break. This last week, actually on September 20th, Pokemon Company revealed some new Pokemon because they haven't done that in the past. We've barely seen
first for them.
Any new Pokemon of Sun and Moon. It's not like we're going to have the whole Pokedex shown to us prior. So these are exclusive Pokemon to each generation.
To each version, rather.
Let's dive in here. Passimian?
Passimian,
that sounds right. Fighting type Pokemon.
Simian refers to I'm not an expert on biology, but some sort of monkey or ape, and then pass is like pass because it's a sport man.
The teamwork Pokemon. How do you say it?
I think it's Passimian.
Passimian attack by throwing berries at their foes. They tend to live in troops of 20 to 30 who all follow one leader. These tribes and teams work to train and improve their skills. This Pokemon has the ability Receiver, an ability which no previous Pokemon has had. Receiver can inherit an ability of an ally who faints in battle. This Pokemon will only appear in the Sun version. That's cool, I guess, right? That seems like this Pokemon is set up for doubles, clearly.
It is, and I've been trying to think of what situation you could really take advantage of. But then it's like if you're already using a Pokemon with an extremely powerful ability, just use 2 Pokemon with that ability. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll find out that Passimian's base stats are very good, so you would want to pass on a good ability to it. But
isn't there a legendary Pokemon that has amazing abilities? I can't
Yeah,
think.
there's some legendaries that have good abilities. I mean, I guess Shedinja comes to mind with Wonder Guard. So if you can get Shedinja to okay, now I get it. So you you put a life orb on Shedinja. Shedinja uses so Shedinja has the ability Wonder Guard. Wonder Guard works where you only take damage if a move is super effective. Because of that very, very strong ability, Shedinja only has 1 HP. Typically, people run Shedinja with Focus Sash so that it takes super effective damage, Focus Sash triggers, and you get one more chance at being hit before Shedinja dies. But you could run Shedinja with something that's meant to kill it, like a Life Orb, so it deals damage, and then Life Orb triggers, so you deal a little bit more damage, but then you take the 1 HP of damage, forcing Shedinja to faint. You then transfer that ability to Passimian, which is a Pokemon that has more than 1 HP and now has Wonder Guard, and maybe that's cool. I guess fighting has a decent amount of weaknesses, which Passimian is fighting type, but I can think of strange situations like that are sort of gimmicky, but I can't think of any solid foolproof strategies at the moment. Maybe one will come up though.
Next Pokemon is Oranguru.
Yeah, like orangutan and guru. I think
Right.
You're saying it correctly.
A normal psychic Pokemon. I'm going to try to think of any other normal psychic type Pokemon as I read this, but I'm not sure of any off the top of my head. The sage Pokemon Oranguru lives in the solitary deeps of the Alolan Forest and in fact were once known as the people of the forest. Oranguru hold a fan-like object made of leaves that are known to be kind to other Pokemon in the forest, often giving injured Pokemon medicine or hungry Pokemon food. This Pokemon can exclusively learn a new move, Instruct, a move which makes the selected target use the most recent move immediately again. This Pokemon only appears in Pokemon Moon.
I think that is more interesting to me. I think Instruct is more interesting to me than Passimian's ability, Receiver. And I realize that Instruct is a move and Receiver is an ability, or whatever Passimian's ability is called.
You're right.
The interesting thing about Instruct is that if Oranguru has base stats that, and you would think it would, given its ability and its signature move, the ability Telepathy, which makes it so that it can't take damage from partners' moves, and Instruct, which is only useful in doubles, hopefully Oranguru would have the move pool and base stats to be a support Pokemon, as sometimes Pokemon like Cresselia act in doubles, because Helping Hand is already a move people use where it increases the base power of your ally's move, and it has to be adjacent for triple battles, if that's kind of relevant. Your adjacent ally's move by 50%, and that already gets used because it's nice having a Pokemon that has enough HP and defenses to survive a long time, even if it's only outputting half of the damage as its opponent. But with Instruct, every turn you're dealing your Oranguru is outputting exactly 100% of the damage output of its first attack. And if people already are using Helping Hand in doubles, which sometimes they do, then Instruct must be pretty dang good. Assuming Oranguru has the base stats and move pool other than Instruct to make it work, right? Like if all Oranguru has other than Instruct are damaging moves, then that would make it difficult. Or if it had extremely high offenses, which it doesn't seem likely, but if either of those two things are true, then it doesn't work out. But that could be interesting in a double battle environment if that is true.
Yeah, both these Pokemon are clearly set up for double.
Right.
The previously shown puppy Pokemon Rockruff can evolve into a different form depending whether you're playing Pokemon Sun or Pokemon Moon. Lycanroc.
I don't actually know if it's like Latin or Greek or whatever, but it has some relationship. It's some word that has a relationship to wolves, which is why often werewolves are referred to as lycans in various media, because lycan is a word that refers to wolves, and then rock is like rock because it's rock type.
Right. It's just no K on that rock.
Right.
Which I believe this name was different than what we talked about last week. I think we got the Japanese name last week because I remember it not being as easy to say. We have midday form and midnight form. The first one being in Pokemon Sun. Rockruff is bathed in profuse amounts of solar energy, and Solgalio's influence causes this Pokemon to evolve into Lycanroc's midday form. This form is known for speedy movement, which can confound its opponents. It's a very loyal Pokemon. Lycanroc's midday form dodges opponent's strike whilst attacking with sharp rocks on its mane. Lycanroc's midday form can learn Accel Rock, a new move unique to this Pokemon, which is guaranteed to strike first, damaging its opponent by slamming them very quickly. This sounds like a Aqua Jet or a Sucker Punch.
Increased priority.
Yep. The midnight form here. In the world of Pokemon Moon, Rockruff is bathed in an abundance of lunar energy, and Lunala's influence causes this Pokemon to evolve into Lycanroc's midnight form. This Pokemon will sacrifice its own safety to strike down its foes. The stronger the opponent is, the more excited Lycanroc's midnight form becomes, its eyes glowing with the thrill of battle. This Pokemon feels a deep thrust. This Pokemon feels a deep thrust towards a trainer who can draw forth its true power.
Did we say that the midnight form gets the ability Inner Focus, which is an ability that prevents flinching, and the midday form gets, is it Sand Rush, which is an ability that doubles your speed when under sandstorm conditions?
No, we didn't say that. My press release here from TCPI does not mention abilities.
Oh, well, that's what it gets.
Surprise.
Apparently both can also get Keen Eye. Oh no, it doesn't get Inner Focus, it gets Vital Spirit. I was incorrect. Sorry, I'll start that all over again. The midday form gets either the abilities Keen Eye or Sand Rush. Keen Eye is an ability that prevents loss of accuracy from moves like Sand Attack or something. And then Sand Rush is an ability that doubles the speed of... Sand Rush is an ability that doubles the speed of a Pokemon when under the effects of Sandstorm. And then Vital Spirit is so then the midnight form can get two abilities. Keen Eye, the same as the midday form, and then Vital Spirit, which is an ability that prevents being put to sleep.
Two new Pokemon-specific Z moves were also shown for some fan-favorite Pokemon. It says fan-favorite in the press release. Pikachu, exclusive Z move named Catastropika.
Catastropika, yeah.
I got there eventually. Pikachu's exclusive Z move is super powered attack, where Pikachu borrows its trainer's strength, wraps itself in high voltage electric power, then charges into its opponent. This is Pikachu's most powerful attack. Eevee's exclusive Z move is Extreme Evo Boost. Eevee's exclusive Z move gathers together Sylveon, Jolteon, and more.
Let's Jolteon watch. Jolteon has been found.
All of the 8 Pokemon that Eevee can evolve into will grant powers to Eevee. The highly powerful move raises Eevee's attack, defense, special defense, and speed by 2. Z move aside, I think this confirms there are no new Eevee evolutions.
True, because there were no other Eevee evolutions in the animation. I wasn't expecting there to be one, and as some people pointed out in discussions that included the Pokemon Podcast account on Twitter, someone pointed out, I apologize that I don't have this person's name, but someone pointed out that typically you get typically you get new EV evolutions in odd generations. Is that what they said? Maybe not.
Probably even.
No, because it's even. Yeah, it's Gen 7. So you get new EV evolutions in even generations, which I think is true because you got new EVs in Gen 2, Gen 4, and Gen 6.
That is a great find. 3 more little bullet points here. The popular...
I just want to say I love the animations for both of those Z moves. They're really cool. And I'm curious if the Pokemon keep their Z move when they evolve. Because if that's true, holy cow, Eevee's Z move is going to be exceptional on some of its evolutions. Because you think how powerful Xerneas's Geomancy is, which is a move that does essentially the same thing, but takes 2 turns to do it, unless you have the right item for it, and it doesn't increase all of your stats sharply. Holy cow, that Z move could do a lot.
There you go. The popular character customization feature makes a return. I like how they say popular, like they knew what they were dealing with. Personalize your character's clothing, hairstyle, eye color as you venture through the Alola region. Now you can even dye your fashions to change their color and make sure you pull off your favorite look while out adventuring. I think it's interesting that you can dye your clothes. I remember when they showed the first trailer of the character walking, and I provided screenshots of their pants being the same pants, but the pockets being red in one and the pockets being gray in the other. And their shirts were different. Same shirt, except one was blue striped, I think, and one was gray striped. And I remember tweeting those from the Pokemon Podcast account and them getting probably some of the most retweets we've ever done. Because I, at that point, was like, this was before they confirmed character customization. And I was like, this right here proves character customization. And I remember somebody tweeting back and going, no, this doesn't confirm it at all. Like, they probably just didn't color correct the 2 different parts in the trailer. And I thought to myself, these trailers are very specific and designed to show us very specific things. They're not put together by an intern, which was like, let's use the old footage of the trailer of the trainer in the blue shirt. And now we have this new footage from our second iteration of the game where he now has a red shirt. Like, that doesn't happen.
I think, if I remember correctly, the person's original argument was that perhaps the trainer looked different in the 2 versions of the game, but I would say that's an equally ridiculous option. I think it was clear to me as well that you had customization.
Right. You don't show off skin color and then show off 2 different shirts, and to me that's obvious you're teasing it before you're announcing it. I think the dyeing though is awesome because there are definitely clothes that I liked in Kalos that I just wish were a different color.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an excellent solution.
Did you notice the fact that you don't buy these, or at least from what we saw, you don't buy these with Pokédollars? You instead have a secondary currency that's some sort of coin?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, which I think is very cool because, wow, those clothes were expensive in X and Y. I think it's cool that it seems to be another currency, that or they're completely replacing Pokédollars with whatever this currency is, but I would find that unlikely.
Right. Looks like they got rid of Pokemon Ami and they're renaming it. Well, they're bringing it back, but they're renaming it Pokemon Refresh. A feature that lets you lets you care for your Pokemon. I'm gonna be honest. It is raining really hard here all of a sudden. I'm gonna be honest.
Thanks for your honesty.
I'm gonna be honest. It's pouring outside right now. I never played Pokemon Ami for more than 60 seconds.
I didn't spend a lot of time with it either. I recognize that there were cool things about it, but I didn't do much with it either.
I couldn't tell you what this new version is taking out or putting in or keeping.
there seem to be a lot more grooming options. Like you can blow dry your Oranguru's hair, which you couldn't do before. It seems specific to grooming, a lot of options that weren't necessarily there before in Monami.
To me, the name change screams that people didn't understand exactly what it was. I feel like changing a me to refresh is an easier way for maybe kids or just the general population.
People who don't speak French.
I just think it's like, hey, we need to simplify this name because we don't want to get rid of this.
Well, and they had to change it because Kalos was based on France, and Sun and Moon are not. So,
right.
And Alola is not, so they had to change it somehow.
What I got here is after a battle, Pokemon can sometimes end up rumpled and dirty. Pokemon Refresh lets you clean them up, care for them, feed them Poke Beans, and even cure status conditions like poisoning and paralysis.
Oh, now you've got my attention.
Inflicted on them in battle. Pokemon that have been looked after in Pokemon Refresh can grow very affectionate and will battle to the utmost for you. This means that sometimes they may avoid attacks from the opposing Pokemon or even hold out when they are on the verge of fainting. Take good care of your Pokemon in Pokemon Refresh, and they will be great allies on your adventure.
That's cool that they're adding more. I remember that there was some added benefit where I think your Pokemon would level up more quickly. You would get more experience if you paid attention to them in Pokemon on me. But it's cool that they're adding more effects like that with Refresh. I think that's neat.
Yeah. Finally, the last bit of news that came out of here, at least in my press release, is the Nintendo 3DS downloadable software Pokemon Bank, an application that enables players to put Pokemon that they've had on past adventures into an internet-based storage boxes, will be receiving an update in January of 2017. This update will give Pokemon Bank application compatibility with Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, and include a new National Pokédex feature. This Pokédex feature reads save data from any compatible titles you connect to Pokemon Bank and collects the information about the Pokemon that you have caught. You can then check out all this information on Pokemon Bank application and even see Pokemon that don't natively appear in the Alola region. Pokemon Transporter will be updated to make Virtual Console versions of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow compatible with Pokemon Bank. This means that Pokemon players caught in the VG original Kanto games will be transferred across into Pokemon Sun and Moon. And there you go. If I'm understanding that paragraph that I just read correctly, it is that once the update hits in January, that Pokemon Sun and Moon will read your Pokemon Bank and then fill in the Pokédex appropriately, so you don't have to transfer them all to Sun and Moon, wait for it to register, and then transfer it back.
Sounds like it to me, I guess, or that Pokemon Bank will have its own Pokédex in it and will register how many Pokemon you've seen and caught, or I guess just that you have in Pokemon Bank. I could interpret it either way. I'm not exactly sure.
I would love for it to just link those dexes together. Not that like transferring them to your game is hard, but my concern is I drag and drop all my Pokemon to the boxes in Sun and Moon, and then I close Pokemon Bank, I open Sun and Moon, and the UPS driver, knocks on my door to drop off my Amazon package. And then I turn around because I hear this crash and my cat has picked up my 3DS and ran into the bathroom and dropped it in the toilet. And now all my Pokemon that were safe on Pokemon Bank were temporarily on my Pokemon Sun digital download, which is now at the bottom of a toilet and is hosed, and there's no way for me to transfer those back to Bank, and therefore my bank is now empty and those Pokemon are lost forever.
I don't know that that's what we're getting, given that it would be hard to prevent people from duplicating Pokemon in that instance.
What do you mean duplicating Pokemon?
because all of those Pokemon. So say your 3DS doesn't get dropped in the toilet, then what you're saying is Pokemon Bank is sort of a backup for all of those Pokemon. But what if you don't drop your 3DS in the toilet? Then you could just transfer all of those Pokemon that you backed up to some other game and just do that an infinite amount of times because they're backed up in two places. Maybe I'm not making sense. I don't know.
No, well, when you move them to a game, they're no longer in bank. It's not duplicating them. It's just saying that.
So what is the situation that you're saying?
My situation,
your 3DS is in the toilet?
My situation is I don't want to transfer all those Pokemon to my game and then have my game be damaged, because then my bank is completely empty. And I can't.
Right, but how would this do anything? Unless this is filling your bank when the Pokemon are transferred, what does this change?
This would change. This would just check the Sun and Moon Pokedex with bank. So it's just saying you own these
your Pokedex still.
Right. Yeah, it's not moving
sure.
Pokemon. It's just updating the Dex in Sun and Moon to say, okay, we've checked your bank. You do own Victini. You do own Genesect. Don't worry about transferring them over. We know.
Yeah, got it. But it wouldn't give you those Pokemon.
Right, it wouldn't give it. It would just check it.
Now we're on the same track.
I would assume in the all internet world that we will eventually get down to the road of there not being a someone's PC. That bank is just that PC for every future game.
Bill, you're getting outmoded.
And that's it. That's all the news that we got for this week. So before we get to our interview and then Pokemon of the Week, this is the last week of September. We are recording this on September 25th. So if you're listening to this week, I am doing a special Patreon offer. We do have a Patreon. It helps support the show and lets us do cool new things. And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can go over to patreon.com/itssupereffective. Or just go to patreon.com and type in PKMNcast. That'll bring you there too. But if you head over there, there's different reward tiers. Patreon is a way to support us monthly, and we offer rewards based on that. So if you support us for $1 a month, you get into our Slack where there are over 200 people hanging out talking Pokemon. If you support us $4 a month, you get into the gold channel in Slack. That's just all the people who paid $4, and there are different conversations and different things happening in that channel. There are some other reward options too, but anyone who is already a Patreon backer, or if you sign up for Patreon in the month of September, there will be a Google Doc survey going out the first week of October, and all you have to do is fill in your name, your address, and a couple other questions like shirt size and some other stuff, and I will send you free stickers and buttons and possibly free shirts. Not everyone will get free shirts. I'm guaranteeing stickers and buttons for everyone, but some people will get shirts. Some people will get some other stuff. I have packaged and laying around my house that I just kind of want to share out to you guys, and so that offer is for any new Patreons or old Patreons for the month of September. You just gotta give us $1 a month, and then come October, I will be mailing out a bunch of stickers and buttons to people, as well as some other goodies. So that's my Patreon offer. I know we try to mention Patreon every episode. I don't want to bombard you guys with it. I don't want to be like, follow, share, subscribe. Obviously, you're here, and I appreciate you guys listening. But yeah, just supporting us means the world and lets us do cool new things. And we're trying to plan something for the end of the year, something special for you guys, and that is what the Patreon money is for, is to do something like that. So I don't want to reveal what that is quite yet because we're still working out the details, but patreon.com/itssupereffective, that would mean the world if you threw $1 our way. Otherwise, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to be sitting down with Gaijinhunter, youtube.com/Gaijinhunter if you want to see his Monster Hunter content. But we're going to talk about some Pokemon, some Monster Hunter, and living in Japan. So we will be right back. And we are back from our break with our special guest here. It's weird because I always record these first and then edit them in afterwards, so I probably said earlier in the episode who the guest was, but I am here with Adam, who is also known as Gaijinhunter. Is that how you say it? Gaijin? I'm really bad with words here.
Yes, Gaijinhunter. I know some people, I hear themselves Gaijinhunter, and it just kills me, but yeah, Gaijinhunter.
And you are known online. I feel like your entire online presence is you are the Monster Hunter guy that doesn't work for Capcom.
I've heard people say that a lot. Some people actually think I work for Capcom. What I don't. I just love the game Monster Hunter.
Yeah, and we here at It's Super Effective love Monster Hunter. We usually mention it on the early parts. It's what we've been playing. We have the Slack community of 200 plus people, and everyone there obviously loves Pokemon. They listen to the podcast, but the biggest channel outside of just the normal Pokemon channels is the Monster Hunter channel, which is actually probably the most active channel. And it's great. And I have a million questions to ask you, but I want to point out to our listeners, and I've said this a million times, and I think Adam will agree. I feel like the Monster Hunter community is the most helpful community of any kind of video game in the world. Like, they are so willing to help other people get into the game.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I think that contribute to that, but in general, people go out of their way to help people and make guides and play with people who are, lower ranked than them and all that kind of stuff. It's just a really great cooperative community.
Yeah. Well, before we get in, just like all interviews that I've done, we've done a lot recently. If you're coming into this interview because of Adam or just because you're a love of Monster Hunter, we did interview recently Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb. We've recently did Austin Creed from Up Up Down Down, aka Xavier Woods from WWE, aka he probably has a million other names. But Adam, who are you besides Gaijinhunter?
Who am I? I guess the most simple way to just put it is I'm an American guy who lives in Japan and who's obsessed with Monster Hunter.
Yeah, we were talking about the time difference before we started recording, that it's 7 p.m. here and 8 or 9 a.m. your time.
Yes, I'm in the future, speaking back in time to you.
So, a couple questions about your life. You currently live in Japan, but you're American. When did you go over there? What made you make that life choice of moving across the world?
So I get this question a lot, and it's never an easy one to answer, so I'll try to give a short answer. But as far as I can remember, back in elementary, I've always been obsessed with everything Japan. I have no idea why. It actually was before I got introduced to games. But all throughout my life, I dreamt of living here and coming here and doing something here. So right after I turned 21, I literally just quit my job, quit everything, and moved over here. I just saved up enough money to do 1 year of language school so I can learn the language, because I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and in Cleveland they don't exactly have Japanese language courses all over the place.
Right.
So so I wanted to come here and learn the language. So I quit everything and came over when I was 21, and it was make it or sink, and I've managed to make it okay, and I've been here now for 14 and a half years. It's crazy how time flies.
That's insane. 21, did you have some college, no college?
No college. I did find, before I moved here for about half a year, there was, it wasn't even a Japanese teacher, but a really good teacher at the local community college who did some basic Japanese. So I did take a very basic course for half a year, which was good. Gives me a little idea of what the grammar's like, what hiragana and katakana were. But yeah, so no, I was just working full time since I've been 15, really.
Okay. How was that life-wise, though, for me? I live in Wisconsin. I've always wanted to move to a different state. I personally just don't enjoy the Milwaukee area, but I know it's doable. But the thing that sits at the top of my head is, okay, I got to get a job. Okay, my girlfriend has to get a job. Okay, I have 3 cats. How do I move them in a car or anywhere else across?
I was lucky. When I was 21, I didn't have anything. So I didn't have a girlfriend. I'm even to this day, I'm not very big into owning stuff or having possessions. So I literally had 1 suitcase. That's all I had when I came here. And I just told my parents, anything else I have, throw away or just give away to somebody. I don't care. So yeah, just one suitcase, come on over, and it was the right time I think in my life where I had enough freedom to do it, and I just did it. Like now that I'm a family guy, I couldn't possibly do a huge move like that. It would be much more complicated, like you were saying.
Right, right.
But it was a good time for me, I think.
How often do you get back out of Japan? I'm sure your parents weren't a fan of that decision of you moving across the world.
They were total fans. They
really?
actually
Okay.
helped support to bring me over because they knew I've been obsessed with the country, and they just want their children to be happy. So they were really supportive, both emotionally and also even financially to start. So they were fine with helping me get over here. So that was really awesome of them. And it breaks their heart that I haven't really come back, and it doesn't look like I'm moving back. But they're happy that I'm happy. So I try to take that as a parent as well, and hopefully I can have the same mindset because I think it's great. But I don't get back a lot, because it's not even. At first, it was kind of like the money, right? Because to fly back costs a lot of money. But now that I work full time here, and I obviously do YouTube on top of that, and I'm a family guy, I just can't get the time off. So I think I've been back to Cleveland though about 4 or 5 times in the last 15 years almost. About once every 2-3 years. So not so often, not like some people who go back like once a year or anything like that. But hopefully I can convince them to come out here.
Again, I have a million Monster Hunter questions, but I kind of want to touch on Japan a little bit more.
Yes. Japan's great, by the way, guys. Like if you guys want to come here, or if you're younger and you think, I'd love to live in Japan one day, like it can happen. It's an awesome place. It truly is.
So
I'm spoiled. I can't live in a bigger city now that I've lived in Tokyo. It's like it's safer than Cleveland, and that was just a suburb. So
right.
It's good stuff.
Big Monster Hunter guy you are, but I did see you tweeting about Pokemon Go, playing Pokemon Go. You were actually recently on the 8-4-Play podcast talking about your initial thoughts of Pokemon Go. Is this is my Pokemon transition, obviously. Is that something you're still playing, something you're still interested in, or where did that fall?
So, I mean, I'm definitely one to be interested in trying things that are becoming really popular because obviously for my day job or just in general, it's good to understand why things are popular. And I've never really been a Pokemon guy. However, I did play one Pokemon game, which I'll get to probably a little bit later, but I was really interested to see how it goes. So I went ahead and downloaded it when it came out, and I got hooked, like hardcore. So within the first, I think 2 weeks, I got up to level 23, which is where I'm still sitting, unfortunately. I bought like walking shorts, like you name it, like I went crazy. So I've put in over, I think I'm at about 130 kilometers registered on the game. But yeah, Pokemon Go has been really fun, especially in Tokyo. Like even here, I'm in the suburb. It's not so good. There's not a lot of Pokespots, but downtown Tokyo where I work, you can't even walk like 10 seconds without hitting something. Like it's just ridiculous. So Pokemon Go was really fun. Everybody else was doing it in Japan. I don't really play it as much right now because I don't really like the radar system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the idea that I can leave my house and I know there's something nearby, but I don't know if I should go left, forward, back, or right. And if I take the wrong direction, it'll be gone by the time I get back and try another direction. So to me, it feels a little too random. So I think if they can fix it, like I noticed they were doing some testing in some cities, they can bring that to Japan. I'll probably be right back in full swing.
It's been a little over 2 months now since Pokemon Go came out. Are you still seeing people playing it in your area? Obviously, Japan is one of the biggest areas for Pokemon, but do you look over somebody's shoulder and they're playing it on the train or the subway?
Tons of people are still playing it. I thought that, everyone says, the initial hype died out or whatever, but if you go outside, everyone's playing it. I just actually on Twitter, I was on a boat going towards a certain part in Tokyo, and there was like a huge rush of people, and it ended up becoming like news. Like some rare Pokemon came out and everyone went crazy. But yeah, people are still playing it a lot. Late at night, you'll see a lot of couples walking around with their phones. You go through any park and there's usually about a good 200 people just standing there. It's really funny.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so I'd say it's still going pretty darn strong here. I think the mainstream hype is maybe died down a little bit, and now it's more or less that core audience and a little bit of the light to mid-core users. But I think all they need is an update, and you'll get a whole bunch of more people in there again.
Right. Yeah, my sister, who not a Pokemon fan at all. I mean, she was when she was like 8 or 9, but she's still hooked on. Actually, she's still super hooked on Pokemon Go. She texts me screenshots of like, oh, I just caught a Scyther today. Yeah, and then I took my mom home from work because she didn't have her car for the weekend, and she was just letting me hear, giving me an earful of Pokemon Go of like, oh, I caught that egg Pokemon. I caught the bird. I'm sick of the bird Pokemon. I love eggs, and I was like, I'm always curious outside of my bubble.
I've used Pokemon Go to get my daughter into Pokemon because she's 7, and anytime I try to get her interested in Pokemon, because even if I'm not a huge fan at first, like I know it's a great game and I've had fun with the game that I played, so I wanted her to get into it. So I used Pokemon Go to do that. So like she's hooked. Like anytime we go out, she's like, boot up Pokemon Go. And she's really good. She can throw curves better than I can. But she gets a kick out of catching the Pokemon and evolving them, and so now she's hooked on Pokemon. And then now she convinced me she wanted to play X and Y, so I bought I think it was X for her. So she's playing that right now. So it's her first game, all in sort of, this is the master plan as a father of having a second player for Sun and Moon. So she's totally hooked now. She loves the Pokemon, and she's like, yeah, I really want Moon. I'm like, no, I want Moon. She's like, no, I want Moon. I'm like, well, if you get Moon, I have to get Sun.
Right.
I was like,
right.
Okay, fine, I'll get Sun, you get Moon.
I was gonna ask if you were interested in Sun and Moon, because I feel like that was like Pokemon's key marketing of like go out and now build that hype for Sun and Moon.
I'm telling you, it's working on us. I mean, because Sun and Moon, I saw the trailers. The game looks fantastic. It looks a lot actually like Monster Hunter Stories, which is coming out very soon in a few weeks here. Same idea, 3D, turn-based. You can ride on your Pokemon, your monsters. Fun environments, colorful. It looks great. But of course, Pokemon has such a rich library of monsters that you can play around with. So I immediately thought that I wanted to play it. I don't know how much time I can dedicate to it, because Monster Hunter Stories is going to take a lot of my time, but I knew I was interested. So I was going to get it, but now that I've got my daughter hyped, like it just seals the deal, so to say. However, I may be a little late playing it because, again, I'll be focusing on Monster Hunter, and I want to get her a 2DS actually, for Christmas. So I might make her wait a little bit before we get it so that she can have her first game system.
Oh, that's super exciting.
That'll be good for her, I think.
There seems to be an overlap in Pokemon fans and Monster Hunter fans here in the West. Do you see that where you are in Japan?
Honestly, I wouldn't say that I necessarily do. Then again, I think there's so many. I think by default, almost everyone in Japan likes Pokemon. So it's kind of hard for it to say, okay, do you like games? Yeah. Do you like Pokemon? Yeah. It's like, okay, well, technically it overlaps with everything at that point. So it's so popular here that I think it's almost impossible to distinguish. But I mean, I don't know. I haven't really run into. Most of my interaction, of course, was with gamers in the West when it comes to Monster Hunter. So to be honest, I'm not quite sure, but I would assume that there's some overlap. I mean, it's the same principles, right? And the cooperation, the working together, personal growth, monsters, that kind of stuff. So, but then again, like Pokemon fans are like Monster Hunter fans, right? Like you play it religiously all year round. So I can imagine it could be a conflict of interest when you have two hobbies like that, battling for your time.
Right. Right, totally.
So I imagine that everyone will lean towards one or the other when pushed to given a choice of what to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and we both know Monster Hunter is one of the most time-consuming games out there.
Exactly. I don't know about. I mean, I played Pokemon Black. That was the only Pokemon I played because the marketing here in Japan was huge for that game on the DS. So I went ahead and that was my first Pokemon experience, and I got 100% on that game. I went crazy. And I have one funny story where I'm still upset about the Street Pass. I don't know have you played through Black?
Yep. Yeah.
So you know how like you're in that town, it looks like skyscrapers like the old city town, and there's a place where they do like Street Pass surveys?
Yes. That is the main city hub. I can't Cresselia, I think. I'm probably getting that wrong. I would
get out every day at work, and then I'd go to Shinjuku Station, which is one of the most busiest stations in all of Japan. And I would stand there on the platform for the trains, street passing people for like 2 hours. I did this after work like every day for weeks. and I can't remember the exact number. It was over 10,000 people I street passed, and I completed all the challenges, and they give you nothing, and I was so upset about that. It's one of my bitter memories is that I've completed every single one of the street pass challenges, and I got nothing worthwhile for it. But I had a lot of fun with the game. But I think because I overdid it, I sort of stepped out from the series after that and went back to Monster Hunter. But I mean, I put a good probably few hundred hours into that. But I mean, I don't know if Pokemon you can drive a few thousand hours out of it. I don't know.
I'm sure some people can. The thing about the thing about Pokemon is there's so many outlets to go to. Like some people are really into breeding, some people are into battling, some people are into collecting. And I feel like collecting has its end. Well, not really, because then people go for shiny Pokemon or. Oh
yeah, I forgot everyone's talking about the perfect stats, right?
Yep, yeah.
There's no end.
So you are best known, at least your online presence is best known for Monster Hunter. How did you get into that series?
This is actually really funny because you were mentioning 8-4 play. I actually got into it because of 8-4 play. So, I mean, living in Japan, I always knew Monster Hunter was a thing, right? How can you not, right? And I think it was back on, Monster Hunter Portable 3rd maybe, when I was here. And I was like, wow, this thing's really popular. And I had a PSP. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I tried it, and I think I tried it for like an hour. I'm like, no, not for me. And I just completely forgot about the series and discarded it. And then Monster Hunter 3G was coming out here. I think that was 2012 or 13. I can't remember. I think 12. I could be wrong. But I became friends with the guys at 8-4, outside in real life. We met up, and, a lot of people in the industry here in Tokyo make friends. So,
and they're all in Japan too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was listening to their podcast, which was 8-4 Play, and it was Mark McDonald and John talking about, I think it was the Jen Moran fight. And Mark was just going like, oh my God, like it just, it was one of those moments like that I'll keep with me. I was like, okay, I got to give this a shot. So they were doing a really big push for 3G here for the 3DS. So I went ahead and bought everything. I bought the 3DS, the game, the entire limited edition, said, okay, I'm giving this an honest shot. And literally a week later, I thought I was going to sell it because I hated it. Because I didn't get it. It didn't click.
Right.
I went into it thinking it was an action game, and I didn't think about it as a hunting game. And I just had the wrong idea of what the loop was. So after a little coaching from a coworker, then going back and giving it another shot, it just clicked one night, and man, I was gone ever since. Like once that clicked, it went crazy. So I've been hardcore into Monster Hunter since, a month after the release of Monster Hunter 3G, and it's never stopped since then.
Okay, yeah. I got in with 3U on the Wii U, and
okay, so we're birthed in by the same title, so to say.
Yeah, and my side of the story was I got a Wii U. It was collecting dust for months because I got it at launch. Nothing really came out. I mean, there was the Mario games and stuff, but kind of burned through those really quick. And they were promoting the Monster Hunter 3U demo, and so I downloaded it, and it probably sat on my Wii U for 2 or 3 weeks before I gave it a shot. And the only reason I did was I believe it was Mark McDonald, and I think he was on a different podcast. I want to say he was on a podcast.
Mark got his bump into Monster Hunter.
Right. I think he was on a podcast with Garnet Lee, and he was explaining this huge fight in Monster Hunter, and it just sounded so epic, so awesome. So I finally played it and the demo, and I was like, this is super sluggish. This doesn't feel great. I can't do any damage to this monster. It was the honey bear, the Azure.
Oh my gosh! Wow, we have identical stories because that was the same one. It was Arzuros.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm hitting him. He's not even reacting. I hit him for 3 minutes. He didn't even die. Like, what's up with this? And yeah, oh my gosh, wow, this is funny.
And so I played it. I stepped away. I came back an hour later just because I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah. And I was going through the weapons, and I actually
wait. Can I ask? Did you try using dual blades at start?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I tried with the sword and shield, and then I went to a bow gun, and I was like, this is even worse. And then I think I went to the long sword, and I was like, this is terrible. I did end up
later timeout. What the heck?
I did go to dual blades then, and that's where the little click kicked in where I was like, okay, this feels a little bit better. And then I went to the hammer, and that's where I was like, I like this. This feels good.
Okay.
And so then I purchased the game. I was playing it. It no joke. It has been the only game in the past decade that I've gotten up early on my day off because I couldn't sleep. I wanted to wake up early to play it.
Oh, nice. It got in your head.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I like to say when I'm talking about Monster Hunter, and it's just the way I like to think about it, is that my time in Monster Hunter may be, 3,000 hours, but I have more playtime outside the game than I have in the game. Because you're constantly thinking about it, you're planning stuff, you're researching stuff. It just it takes over your life.
Yeah, and what really helped is, I think, two things. I think the Wii U to 3DS was like a huge benefit of, okay, I can play this great on my TV. Yeah. The game looks gorgeous. I can play with a Wii U controller or Wii U Pro controller, and then I could take
online too. Yeah,
and then I could take this out with me and just play on my 3DS. I think that was such a great feature set.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, my girlfriend was watching me play, and she was like, she's like, this looks really cool, and I was like, I don't think you'd like it, because she's not a hardcore gamer. Like, she plays Pokemon, and she plays like Tetris and stuff, but. So I've just made a new character, kind of set it up, and I was like, hey, maybe you should start with like dual blades and stuff. And like right away she was like, oh, this is really fun. And I was like, oh, okay. So she had a 3DS. We got her a copy of Monster Hunter, and then it was like for 2 months straight, that's all we did. Like every time we had free time, awesome. It was like, let's hunt together. And that was such an incredible experience. And since then
I'm jealous.
Since then she's kind of fallen off because she preferred playing on the TV.
I see.
As opposed to the handheld. Like, we got her for you, and she just was like, I just wish this one was on the TV. So like, her big complaint is she just wants to hold a controller, which
it's understandable.
Yeah,
I get it. There's definitely that preference there, but no, I'm a little bit jealous, and I say that only because when I got into 3G, Japan was at least at work, like the people who generally played Monster Hunter. I think 3G ended up gaining a lot of new players. Because a lot of the people who had played Portable Third or Freedom Unite, they were a little burnt out from the franchise. So I could find nobody to play with. So I actually had to do, I went all the way through G rank solo. And that tested my patience. And it made me a good hunter. I mean, in hindsight, I'm really happy I did it. But, oh man, without being able to play with somebody, that was rough.
I wish I had a similar story to that. But I always fall under the never hitting G rank. I think I put close to 250 hours, which is probably not nearly as much as other people put into Monster Hunter 3U.
That's a healthy amount, though.
And I hit Hunter rank 8, and the only reason that I never hit G.
Almost there.
I know I was almost there. The only reason I never hit G is because I kept introducing new people, and so
so you kept starting back over.
Yeah, I kept going back and helping, and like I do not feel like my time was wasted doing that. Like, it was still super enjoyable, but I never got the experience of G, and I just hit, I think, Hunter rank 4 or 5 in Generations, and I have a lot of complaints about Monster Hunter 4U, but Generations, I feel like, fixed a lot of those.
Yeah. 4U is really good, I think, at introducing new people to the series. I think the way that they set it up and everything, the flow is really much better than it was back in the previous games. But Generations just assumes that you're a veteran and just throws you in there, and it's great. As a hunting tool, it's fantastic.
I was going to ask, what is your take with the lack of instruction in the game? I think we both can relate to 3U of they don't tell you anything.
They don't tell you anything, and the start is so sluggish. And it's even worse because they start you off with a weapon that they assume you need to upgrade before you actually go and hunt something. But there's no one to tell you that. So you're like you said, you're up against this honey bear, and you're hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and nothing's happening. And you're like, it's not dying. And the game just fails to say, hey, I just taught you how to gather materials. Why don't you look at what you need to upgrade your sword and shield and upgrade it once, and then you'll be able to kick some butt, But the game does nothing. So I think 4U did a much, much better job, and I was really happy with it. And I think that if they, on like Monster Hunter 5 or whatever they're working on next, they really, if they want to bring in new players, they need to do what they did in 4U, if not more. But Generations is obviously targeted at just series veterans who want to experience all the different generations of the game. So they completely stripped out a lot of the tutorials. I mean, the tutorials are there, but they're kind of buried in like text. And for those who read it, they're really good. But I think it's back to 3U time where it's a little hard to play. But luckily enough, they took out all the fluff. So you're not sitting there, delivering eggs and gathering ferns for, the first 4 hours of the game. So I think they did a fantastic job in fixing the pacing. But it does kind of just throw you in there.
Yeah. And that kind of comes to, so really no, they're not good at telling you what to do, but in my eyes, I had to go seek that out on YouTube, and that's where I found you and your videos.
I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? I think in Japan there's this idea that if a game has a lot of depth, then it's more detrimental to try to shove it down people's throats, and then they go, "Whoa, this game is too complicated for me." And better to just let them play at the surface, and if they want to go deep, then it breeds the community mentality of let's help out each other. I guess you sort of see that in the West with the Souls games, right? Like they don't horribly explain a lot, and people just immediately, when they're interested to say, I want to know a little bit more about this, they go online and everybody's talking about everything. So it breeds more communication and sharing.
Right.
So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I think they need to do more. However, I do love the idea that there's plenty of room to try to help people, and if it helps somebody, then that makes my day worth it. So
what was your initial thought or your initial reason of you sitting down and making the videos that you made?
Yeah, so this is kind of weird. So like I started doing blogging when I was into 3G, and then going into 4. It wasn't for anybody. No one was reading my blog. It was literally just me writing to nobody. But I wanted to say, okay, I really love this weapon. There's so many things about it. And I think the game producer in me said, well, how do you take so many complicated concepts and reorganize it in a way that it sounds like, hey, I could do that. So I started writing text tutorials, and I actually got, I think, like 300 followers on Tumblr after about a year or so of doing so. And I think one of the people was asking me about, hey, why don't you show us off some of the cool new stuff in Monster Hunter 4? I was like, yeah, it's probably a pretty good idea. So I just grabbed my iPhone and I just recorded a few, like really bad. I just recorded a few like videos and put them on a YouTube channel. And I was so excited because I got like 50 likes. I was like, wow, 50 views on my video, and people enjoyed it. They thought it was cool, so I was really happy. But then it started getting to a point where I really wanted to help other people, and I knew that my tutorials would be better as videos. And then it was just so happened that the investment is huge. If you want to do 3DS streaming, you've got $250 or more for a capture card. Mm-hmm. And I got really lucky because when I was debating making that investment, because I knew I'd never get that money back, there was like a like a humble bundle with Camtasia, and I was like, ooh, video editing software. I was like, okay, you know what? I got Camtasia for like $10. Went ahead and invested and made the videos, and I was right. Like it was the right medium for what I was trying to do. And then it was kind of funny because at first I was a little terrified. I was like, I'm going to make 12 weapon tutorials and then I'm done, because there's, once you know that, what else is there?
Right.
But lo and behold, after I finished with 12, there was plenty of room to talk about other stuff. And obviously with the release of 4U, my channel shot up really fast. So being able to interact and help people is I mean, I suppose when you're in love, you want to tell everybody, right? So I just want to share the love. And I get no greater enjoyment than reading the comments and someone saying like, I didn't get it, but now this clicks. I really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun this weekend. Like, that's awesome, because that's what I enjoy so much about the series.
Really, this was your first attempt at making videos and your first attempt at the YouTube thing.
Yes, I mean, pretty much. YouTube, again, I did it probably for a half a year. I did some really shoddy, just quick little camera videos, but I knew that I needed to give it an honest effort, so to say. So, yeah, I'm very happy with how it worked out. Still growing, still trying to figure out how to do it right. But like you said, I didn't even voice my videos at first because I didn't even have a microphone. I was terrified to talk. I didn't know what I was doing. So eventually I broke that fear and got a little bit more confident. And then I had some really horribly God, you go back to some of my older videos and the audio is really bad. I'm like, hi guys, this is Adam. And in my head, I was being super energetic, and I was just trying to talk in a tone or a speed that was easier to listen to. And of course, you don't realize it when you hear it yourself, but man, was it awful. But, but eventually I got a little bit better. I'm still trying to get better at it, but it's been so I think I make YouTube videos not only because they really help people, but they also help me as well. I feel that I'm growing as a hunter, and I'm also learning a lot about creating media, and that's awesome. So it's a win-win for everything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been doing this show for 6 years, and
I was going to ask what got you started into wanting to do the show.
Mostly, I was huge into podcasts. I listened to a ton of them, and I was there was a video game podcast I used to listen to all the time. It was called One Up Yours, and then I think they changed their name to Weekend Confirmed.
One Up Yours.
But it was the people from oneup.com, which was like, I think some people from 84Play used to work with them, if I'm not mistaken. It's all, that whole community is somewhat intermixed.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Every week they cover the games they play and stuff, like John Davison, Garnet Lee, all those guys. And Heart Gold, Soul Silver, the Pokemon games came out, and I was like, oh, they're going to talk about it. I can't wait. I love Pokemon, blah, blah, blah. And they skipped it. They didn't cover it at all. And it was like, oh, how could they not talk about these games? Like, Pokemon games are bestsellers every, the month they come out. They're number one.
Your call to duty. Call to action.
And so I was like, well, there probably is a Pokemon specific podcast, and there were in iTunes, but not most of them were on hiatus or haven't recorded, or they were sporadic. Right. And I want something weekly.
Yeah,
I want that consistency. So I was like, I'll just start it and try it. And going off what you said about listening to older stuff and you didn't sound energetic. I felt the same way in my older episodes. Here's a pro tip for people wanting to create content, especially audio content, is definitely listen to your old stuff. And I'm a strong believer of your equipment might not be the most important thing when you're starting, but I think that it does matter in the aspect of confidence. It's just
that's true.
You going to a formal event, you could put on jeans and a shirt, or you feel more confident looking really good. I mean, I guess that's why people dress up for
That's a really interesting point, actually. I never thought about that, because when I first started doing audio, I was literally talking into my iPhone with the mic app. I had it's so bad. But you're right. If you're slouched over and you feel like you're hacking it, then it makes it a little harder to feel confident and just blow out the horn, so to say.
Yeah. And it was funny because we were talking about audio software before, and I went through so many different versions of different audio softwares, but the stuff I use now, I know it works. It makes my workflow better. It's great. I feel I'm never oh, I got to use this program, and no one ever wants to feel that when they're trying to make something.
Yeah. I
enjoy making content, so I'm glad that the software and stuff I use is also enjoyable to use.
Now, if only they made it easier to capture 3DS, huh?
Right. Yes, exactly. What motivates you to keep making YouTube content? I mean, you have a day job.
Yeah.
You obviously put a lot of hours into Monster Hunter, but I'm sure that you would have even more free time not recording, editing, voiceovering, all that stuff. It eats a lot of time, especially the video aspect.
I'm this month I'm sort of unofficially taking time off just because it's been really busy on my other job and I'm a little burnt out. So I said, okay, I'm not going to commit to anything this month, even though I do find myself making videos. I can't stay away from it. But yeah, I spend probably a good, I would say 20, 30 hours a week on YouTube, whether it's research or making videos or doing something. But I guess when it's your hobby, it's never really work. I guess that's the best way to put it. When you really love what you do, it feels like, okay, well, if I wasn't doing it anyways, this is what I want to do. It's like my hobby. So I think playing Monster Hunter, I think creating Monster Hunter content has now become an equal hobby for me. It's really enjoyable for me to realize the holes in my own knowledge. You know, when I'm covering something I think even I know, and then I do the research, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like I just did a video the other day on an item, the shock, what is it, the flashbangs, or not the flash,
The
the sonic
Dungbang?
bombs.
Oh, Sonic
Sonic
Bombs.
bombs. And there's a few of them that I sort of knew, but I didn't. And so it's not like I just pick up the 3DS, record it, and boom, there it is. You know, like I have to do research for that stuff and make sure I'm not missing any really big ones. And I'm human, so I make some mistakes, but I learn as I make those. I was like, oh, I didn't quite really understood it. It went that far. That's pretty cool. So to me, it's the same as learning and playing Monster Hunter as I'm teaching. I guess to truly learn, you have to teach, so to say. So it's an addiction.
Sure. Speaking of teaching,
You need sleep, right?
Right?
You need
Yes.
sleep.
Overrated.
Sleep 3 hours a day, you're fine.
How? What advice, or at this point in time, how would somebody new get into Monster Hunter? I feel like even with all the progressions of the game and making it easier, and
Yeah,
it's still a daunting game.
it is. I mean, it's horrible to say this at first because some people might be like, I don't have that, so okay, then it's not for me. But I would say if ideally the best way to get into Monster Hunter is with a friend. If you have a friend who knows Monster Hunter, just getting your hand held and just being with someone who gets the game for just even a few hours, I think is more than enough to understand the mentality that you go into the game. And I think then you can be thrown off on your own and do pretty good. Obviously, there's a lot of content on the internet, not just my videos, but a lot of guides and other very passionate videos of people talking about it. And I keep meaning to do it, but it's so daunting to me. Is I know Pro Jared made a really nice attempt to do it as well. Well, maybe not an attempt. He actually pulled it off. But like sort of like the Welcome to Monster Hunter video series. Like how do you play this game? But it's like the Holy Grail. It's like I don't even know how to approach it. But I think ideally going in with another players is great. If not, then I would say I don't know, just watch some videos of people playing. I think sometimes it gives a good idea of monkey see, monkey do, and you get an idea like, oh, this isn't Devil May Cry. It's not a beat 'em up game. This is a game about planning and doing this. And I guess another piece of advice I would love to give people if they're listening and they're thinking about Monster Hunter is remembering that like any really good game that has a lot of weapons and classes, so to say, your experience with the game changes greatly depending on what weapon you're using. And I know a lot of people will go into the game and try like the Great Sword because that's what they sell in marketing material, right? Big ass sword, and I'm sorry, I don't even know if I could say that on your podcast.
It's fine. We do like little Pokemon sounds of if you swear. So people usually actually like it because then it's funny.
But and you try it and you don't like it, and then people, okay, this game's not for me. Well, that's not true. It's like playing as a mage and then going in as a knight. It changes everything. So I'd say give it a shot, try everything. Hopefully it clicks. But like any game, it's not for everybody. But I definitely think if you like Dark Souls, if you like Pokemon, if you could be a little patient and love a game that goes deep, then I think it could be for you.
Yeah, we had a lot more people jump on in the Slack community that we have of Generations, and the first thing I kind of set up was like before you commit to anything, just go through every single weapon and try it out.
Yeah, see what feels like it might be fun to use, right?
Right, and especially because you're going to put all this time into the game, you probably have a different because you put so many hours in. But I feel like somebody who's maybe like a casual or just they play Monster Hunter, once or twice a week, they're probably not going to be switching weapons that often.
No, they're only going to play one weapon. Yeah, if anything, a second one. I think that's actually not even just the light. I think that's the mid tier as well. Most people only play 1 to 2 weapons. So finding something you like is critical in falling in love. And I think that once the game feels like there's not much more else to do, switching up to another weapon is like getting a brand new game. It's like, here we go. Here's another 300 hours.
Right.
Then you go into the next weapon. Here's another 300 hours, So and it doesn't quite end.
For Generations, they introduced both arts and styles to the game.
Oh, yeah.
It gives the game a different feel, definitely.
I'm a little worried if they don't include, as I know this is technically a spin-off title, 4th Generation. It's not a numbered title. It's meant to be sort of like a celebration of all things Monster Hunter. It kind of, I don't know how I'm going to feel if the next big game doesn't have styles. I'm so it feels so right that I don't know. It would feel really awkward for me.
So you're a fan of that change then?
Huge fan, yes. Because, I mean, from a tutorial perspective, it's kind of weird when you're making a tutorial for a past Monster Hunter game and you realize there's the way to use the weapon. And then everybody who masters the weapon are pretty much all doing the same thing. And that's fine, and the game is really fun, but until we really got to experience styles and then going into a hunt with other people with the same weapon and seeing that everyone has their own take on it and can play it differently. And if you're playing it differently, you don't go, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's like, no, maybe he has a different, setup. Maybe he has different style. Maybe he has different arts and he's going for a different approach. And you can do that. And I think that's a key thing for the West as well, is being able to, put your own personality into how you hunt. And it just feels so right. And I love the idea of experimentation and not being horribly punished for trying out new things.
Right.
Which, yeah, the game's a little bit more lax than 4U was in that regard. The difficulty has been toned in a way that, if you try something new, you're not just going to get pounded in the ground right away. So it's fun to experiment.
So for a new person, would you have them start with 4U or 3U or Generations, or where?
That's a tough one because I get asked that a lot. Generations is by far the best Monster Hunter game. From gameplay wise, I can't see how any other game really compares to it, except with the nostalgia factor maybe. If you're going into it for story though, you're not going to get any. So I think people who are interested in story and maybe slowly getting into the game and having a little bit more handholding, picking up a cheap copy of 4U might be fun. And if you really enjoy it, then just put it down and get Generations. But Generations, if you have a friend you can play with, and there's online as well. If you don't mind going in without too much handholding, then I think Generations is the best Monster Hunter experience you're going to get by far.
I want to switch 180 degrees. Is there anything in Monster Hunter you don't like?
Lack of voice chat sucks. I mean, think of it. We all do really creative solutions. We use Skype. We use Discord. Everyone's just trying to communicate with each other. I mean, granted, the fact that there's no voice makes it for some really fun, like, chat experiences and using motions and gestures. But I think everyone would agree that voice chat would be a very welcome addition, because it's hard to teach also new players. If you're in a room and they're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, if there was voice, then you could really help them out. And I think the community can bond even more. So that really annoys me. I really enjoyed 3U, just like you were saying on the Wii U. The experience of being able to go outside on a handheld and then come home and play it on a big screen was really sweet. I would love to have that again in some form. I'm a big Apple fan, so it bugs me that you have all your data on your iPhone or whatever phone. It's all synced in the cloud, like your save data, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come home and I can just sit down on my computer and continue where I left off. Imagine if Monster Hunter was that seamless. Like if they had an NX thing or something. That would be, who knows what NX even is. But
right.
Assuming that it's a console, because that's where the rumors are pointing. Like, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, totally. It's hard for me to sit on my couch and play my 3DS when like I have
a screen's looking at you going wink wink.
Yep.
Wink, wink. Don't you want to play on me? I'll be honest though, I live in Japan, so my thoughts on the 3DS is definitely biased. We're always, commuting on average is like an hour one way for almost everybody here. So being able to sit on a train or stand in a train and play on your 3DS is huge. So it does kind of terrify me that if they take it off from handheld, that my playtime will suffer as a consequence. Being able to play on lunch and stuff like that is really, I think, important for, salaried workers in Japan. So I don't know how I'd feel if they stepped away from handheld, but honestly, I don't care what format it is. It could be any format. I'll still play Monster Hunter. I'll love it. So it's all good.
Is there still, you paint this picture that everyone on the train is playing a 3DS. Is that in reality true?
No, everyone's on their smartphone in reality. You can't argue that the smartphone business has stealed a good amount of people from the 3DS, because they just go on the train and you can see it. But I would say, I don't know, there's just a lot of times when I see people do play in 3DS, whether it's waiting in line for something, which you do a lot here in Japan, or during their lunch break or something like that. You do see people playing their 3DS, definitely. But right now, the smartphone market is sort of taking over people's time quite a bit. And of course, Pokemon GO.
Yeah, totally.
Which also has a monopoly on, your screen time. So that also shuts down any other possibilities. So We'll see if the plus will. Are you gonna get a plus?
Yeah, I actually got one about a week ago, and
how is it?
it's great. It's super great. I plan on doing a review, but it's not what I thought it was. Just a real short explanation. You start a session on it, and that session lasts a half hour. So you go in the app, you click the Pokemon Go Plus, you verify it by clicking the actual device, and then it runs in the background on your phone for a half hour. So really, you know how when you close an app on iOS, you have the blue bar on the top, like, oh, Maps is up here or Skype is up here. It does the same thing with Pokemon Go. And
I see.
So then when you're moving, when you're walking around, it vibrates when a Pokemon's near, and all you do is hit the button, and it either catches it or it doesn't. And there's different vibrate feelings for that. And then when you're at a Pokestop, you hit the button, and then you're good to go. You shouldn't be using the app at all because the Plus is handling everything. But yeah, I thought it was something that was going to run all the time or something you needed to charge, but there's no charging port. There's just a battery in it. And yeah, you just start a half hour session and you go, which I think is actually pretty great. Especially if you're walking down the street to the store, to a park, you can start a session and then you can like text or you can look up something in Safari and not worry about because that was my problem with Pokemon Go is like people are texting me and like I want to
interact with anything,
right, because I need this app up because if the app's not up and I'm not getting my eggs hatched, I'm not checking into Pokestops.
It's kind of weird though if it's running in the background and the GPS is embedded in the iPhone and not the Plus, then technically they could update the game so that you could at least have walking, maybe not capturing or Pokestops, but they could technically run it in the background so you can have your walking for egg hatching. I wonder why they haven't.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like a battery life issue or something. I know in the half-hour session that I did, I lost 10% battery. And that was not looking at my phone, not doing anything. It was just simply, I want to test what the battery life is with this. Let's start the session, and it was 10%, which, yeah, it's not the worst for 30 minutes of Pokemon Go.
30 minutes, that seems a little restricting, but I suppose for people who walk around a lot, it's going to be good.
Yeah, because it lets you know when the session is over, so you can start it again if you want.
Well, that's good. I have to debate getting one, maybe.
They're hard to find right now, at least in the States.
Yeah, in Japan, you can't get them anywhere. They're totally sold out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured as much. A couple more questions. You're known as, obviously, the Monster Hunter guy. I feel like I'm known everywhere as the Pokemon guy, but I am confident you have other hobbies and interests outside of Monster Hunter.
In games or in general?
Both. I'm super into Destiny. That's probably like my number one game of choice that isn't Pokemon or Monster Hunter. I'm a big fan of WWE, unfortunately, and I spend too much time watching wrestling and regretting my time. But what about you? I mean, like besides making stuff, besides Monster Hunter, besides family and work.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm addicted to. Believe it or not, I'm addicted to just learning in general. It's just one of my hobbies that I have a rule that I try every day actively to learn something before I go to bed. Like I can't wake up tomorrow with the same experience points as I have today. Is how I think about it. Whether it's stupid trivia or something, I gotta learn something. So I'm on iTunes University watching videos about computer science, about math, you name it. Always trying to learn something. I have some parody accounts on Twitter, so some people know that I'm a huge fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson, Carl Sagan, Bill Nye, Brian Greene, those guys. So science is definitely a huge interesting for me, and watching videos that teach about engineering or science, and then because I can then take that and explain to my daughter, and she loves it as well. And understanding the world around you is just what I enjoy, I guess. I did build my first game PC for the first time ever just recently. I plan to do some videos to talk about the experience and the parts and what I'm feeling, but that was fun. So I am looking forward to making some time so I can play some PC games. I was just enjoying the Talos Principle, which I'm almost done with now. That was hugely enjoyable for me. And then just tech stuff. I like messing around with tech. So whether it's installing beta software for a new OS or messing around with stuff. I love fiddling and playing around with stuff.
Cool.
But game wise, it's kind of a mixed bag. I try to play most of the big games just to see how they are. and if I enjoy them or what they're doing right, and it helps me, in my day job making video games, know what are good ideas and what are not, and possible executions. But outside Monster Hunter, I mean, it takes up so much of my time that I really haven't played too many games outside of it over the last few years, except I'm really big into Neo, and that's the new Koei Tecmo game coming out next February. It's like Dark Souls meets Onimusha meets Ninja Gaiden. It's ridiculous. It's really fun. They did an alpha and beta, and I think I'm going to be covering that quite a bit. I actually spent about a good 4 or 5 hours yesterday researching one particular Japanese demon, just so I could do a lore video. So I think that's going to be another fun hobby for me, which will hopefully will teach me some more things that I can get better at teaching Monster Hunter. But I'm very excited for that. And Horizon excites me. I'm almost like the handheld user in Japan who just is now discovering console. So like Dark Souls 3, I never played Dark Souls. I tried to and I didn't like it. 3 I absolutely adored. So I played that through, and Bloodborne I absolutely loved. I suppose I'm into a little bit of everything except for maybe not sports games or games that require a lot of time. Like some of the adventure games that with a lot of puzzle solving that just I don't know. I say I'm easily distracted, but yet here I go and sit down for 7 hours farming one monster in Monster Hunter. So I suppose it's all subjective.
There's that loot mentality that always triggers.
Actually, you know what? There was a second Pokemon game I played religiously. Pokemon on the 3DS had the Rumble game.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're like little robot toys and you collect them. That game I 100%ed. I played it to death. I went nuts on it. That was really fun.
Yeah.
So they made another one of those. I think I'd be all over it.
I thought you were going to say Shuffle.
Too bad Nintendo doesn't really want you to make videos on their games. So
right, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Pokemon Shuffle. I feel like that's kind of the one game that also
Shuffle.
broke. Shuffle's the puzzle, like the Puzzle and Dragons ones.
Oh, okay, not that.
But no, Rumble is the little mechanical toy ones.
Yeah. That game was so fun. Oh my god.
Do you and even your daughter now getting into Pokemon? Do you guys have a favorite Pokemon?
For me, I suppose I'm not seasoned enough in the game to really know them well enough. I'm a huge fan of all the Ghost Pokemon. It's like my thing. It sort of harkens back to like I was into more goth stuff when I was in high school, so to say. So I love the Ghosts. I love anything I love horror movies. I had a subscription to Fangoria. Like, that's my thing. I love it. So Del Toro fan, So the Ghost Pokemon I love. But the one, if I had a favorite, it'd probably be Victini. I think that's what he's called in Japanese. I have no idea what he's called in the West.
Same name.
Okay, because when I first started Pokemon, that was Pokemon Black. I couldn't care less about the starting Pokemon. They all seemed totally boring to me. I know I'm going to get some hate for that one. What's wrong with this guy? Go back to Monster Hunter. My pork chop is awesome. But early in the game, you get over by the water, you can get Victini.
Yes.
And that to me was my starting Pokemon. And I used Victini for a very long time in that game. So to me, like, that was my starting Pokemon. So it has a special place in my heart, Victini. My daughter's playing XY, and she picked the one with it has sort of like a cute hat and like almost like grass and green on him. I have no idea what his name.
Grass and green.
He looks like a grass Pokemon or something like that.
Probably
not even a grass type. I'm sorry.
Probably Chespin.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, because
she was complaining that his second evolved form, he's not as cute as his first one.
Yeah, he turns.
So she was
like
asking if there's a way to bring him back.
He turns into like a little chubby hedgehog.
Exactly.
Yeah, Chespin.
But she really likes him because that's her. But she also likes pudding, which is in English Jigglypuff.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's like so weird that you guys have slightly different names for certain Pokemon. It's
going to kill me because if I'm playing it in Japanese, I'm going to start learning all the names in Japanese and I won't know what the heck they're called in English, which is where I'm at right now. I have no idea.
Yeah, some names are exactly the same, like Pikachu and Victini, but yeah, they don't do that for all of them.
I'm totally going for the cat for
Sun and Moon.
Sun and Moon. So I'm going for the cat, and my daughter is. Once I told her that the seal one is not that popular. The moment I said that, she's like, "It's my boy."
Popplio.
like, someone's got to give it some love. It's
Yeah.
adorable. She's like, I feel responsible now for doing it. So she's going to pick that one as her starter.
Yeah, I actually might go with Popplio too, just because I'm a big cat person. I have 3 cats here, so Litten to me was the obvious choice. But
Yeah.
Popplio is
I'm
actually
worried about Litten though.
really
Like
cute.
it's cute, but I'm a little worried that it's going to turn into some husky, non-cute evolved form.
Yeah. That's I'm getting worried. We're getting close to game release, and they haven't shown what they evolve into, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's going to cement my choice.
Exactly, because it's like you're only going to look at that starting form for so long.
Right.
I gotta ask, Pokemon Go, which team are you?
I am Mystic.
Mystic. Don't tell my daughter that.
What team are you guys?
We're Team Valor.
Oh, okay.
It was hilarious because we went to a water park as a day trip, not a day trip, but like a weekend trip, me and my daughter, to go swimming. And we were in the hotel, and we get into an elevator, and there was another father and 2 of his sons playing Pokemon Go. She looks, and she's totally not shy, so she'll just talk to anybody. So she goes, "Oh, you playing Pokemon Go?" And they're like, "Yeah. Oh, you play as well?" She's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What color are you? What team are you?" And then they were saying, "Oh, we're Team Blue. We're Team Mystic." And then she looked at the screen, and you could tell that the gym for that hotel was Team Mystic. And then she, in a very adorable voice in Japanese, told them, "Later on tonight, we're going to take your gym." And sure enough, when we got back to the hotel, first thing she says is, "We got to take the gym back." I was like, "Okay." So we took it, and she was so happy. She's like, "I want to go to sleep knowing that the gym is Team Valor." I was like, "Good girl." She's like, "There's so many Team Mystics here in Japan. We got to represent." Team Mystic's huge. I don't know about the West, but it's huge here in Japan.
Yeah, I think it's still the biggest team worldwide. I don't know. People like the color blue.
I think that's what it is.
Nah, I just liked Articuno out of the 3 birds.
We have the cooler leader, but everybody likes blue for some reason. So
I just made my choice off of which of the legendary birds I liked the best.
I also think I'm almost going to guess that Splatoon has an effect on people here in Japan with the idea of colored turf wars. I think people weren't always very competitive here in Japan, as far as I could see, but Splatoon has really made competitive fun and not aggressive. So it's like, blue versus red and stuff like that. So I think it's breeding a good mentality in the game industry here for having a fun type of turf wars in a cute way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I am out of questions. I've kept you for an hour here, so I don't know if you had anything else.
No, I could talk for hours. You have a great show, and it's fun talking with you. But I know you don't want to have a 4-hour podcast of me rambling on about Monster Hunter. So
yeah, in we could just compromise and just have you back in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great. Get me back a Monster Hunter thoughts on Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Where can our listeners find you? Because you have a YouTube channel, you have a Twitter. Where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Gaijinhunter. So if you just put in Gaijinhunter, Gai. You'll have it in the link or whatever.
Yeah.
People already know. So Gaijinhunter. You can find me on Twitter at Aevanko, Aevanko, which is my actual name. I've been wanting and thinking I should redo my Twitter as Gaijinhunter or something like that, but someone's already taken it. And you know what? It doesn't really matter. So Aevanko is my Twitter. And I do have a Tumblr, which I'm not as active as I used to be, but you can find me at Gaijinhunter on Tumblr as well.
Oh yeah, I always forget this. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, but Adam, I want you to request our Pokemon of the week, so when we come back, we can go in depth with that, make a move set for our competitive people, and give some people some fun facts they might not know about the Pokemon.
It can't be Victini. It's my favorite, so it comes to mind.
Yeah, no, it can be Victini. I don't think we've ever done Victini. So yeah, I think that
People
works.
are like, it's such a weak beginning Pokemon. Yeah, Victini would probably be the one.
Okay, awesome. Well, we will take a quick break. Thank you so much, Adam, for hanging out. Find him on YouTube at Gaijinhunter, and we will be right back. are back from our final break. Man, this episode, it's long. It's long, Travis.
It's true.
I'm good to go. I'm feeling great. Still pouring here in the Milwaukee area. We got Pokemon of the Week. That's going to wrap up our show. Before we get to that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about episodes, future episodes, you just want to write in. I feel like we're dying down with Pokemon news finally. I say that, but then every week they show off 30 new Pokemon. But I want to do another email show soon. So if you have any questions or anything you want to email in, you can go to PokemonPodcast.com and hit the contact button. Or direct email, same place. It's going to be sbj@pkmncast.com. And hopefully we can do an email show in a week or two here where we do some emails. But I'm going to throw it to Travis for Pokemon of the Week.
Our Pokemon of the Week this week is Victini. Victini is an interesting Pokemon because it gets access to the signature moves of Kyurem, Zekrom, and Reshiram, in addition to its own signature move, V-Create. So it has a lot of options, in addition to just some good moves aside from those. So there are a number of ways you can go with it. One of the options is to do something with Choice Band, to do a physical set. Usually you would do a Jolly Nature. Choice Band increases the damage of your physical attacking moves, but locks you into one. You would put your EVs into attack and speed, and then do V-Create, Bolt Strike, U-Turn, and then Trick to swap your Choice Band onto the opponent and get their item, and give Choice Band to something that wouldn't get a benefit out of it and would only get the detriment out of it. That's not the set that I'm going to modify and make our own, but I thought I would throw that one out there because that's an option too. Instead, we're going to make a slight modification on one of the common move sets, which is a mixed sweeper Victini that's often set up because of the power of V-Create and Bolt Strike as well, as being a way to take out a lot of defensive Pokemon, a lot of walls. You would call this set like a wall breaker. And it's also got some special moves, typically Glaciate, and then Glaciate or Glaciate, depending on your pronunciation, and Energy Ball for the two special attacks. I'm going to switch that up a little bit. We'll see when we get there. But we'll start from the top. We're going to put most of our EVs in special attack because the physical attacking moves we have are already so incredibly powerful given their base power that we can afford to put 160 special attack into special attack and 96 into physical attack, with the remaining 252 going to speed. We're going to do Hasty Nature and give Victini a Life Orb. Instead of going... So V-Create is pretty much an auto-include, given that it's a same type attack bonus move that Victini has access to that has the ridiculous base power of 180. Accuracy of 95, although that's bumped up given Victini's ability Victory Star, which increases the accuracy of Victini and also any of its allies if it's a double or triple battle, although this set is made for singles. So that it increases it by 10%, so that 95 essentially becomes a 100.
OP.
The V-Create's downside is that it lowers Victini's defense, special defense, and speed by a stage. So typically you use that to either finish off or one-hit KO a Pokemon, and then maybe getting another attack in because you likely outsped the first turn. So if you finish the thing off, then you could probably get another attack in, either with another V-Create or Bolt Strike, or the other moves. Then you take a hit because likely you'll be outsped this time because your speed is lowered. But if you can survive a hit, then you would switch out after that, or switch out after your first V-Create if you're getting to a position that isn't advantageous to you. Second move is Bolt Strike, which is typically the signature move of Zekrom. Bolt Strike is 85% accuracy, which gets bumped up from Victory Star, 130 base power, which is also very high and has a 20% chance to paralyze the target, which is also nice. We're not going to use Blue Flare, which is Reshiram's signature ability, even though having a very strong special attacking move would be nice. It becomes redundant coverage with V-Create, and we're obviously going to choose V-Create over it because of just how high that base power is. Even though Blue Flare doesn't have a downside, the 180 base power of V-Create is hard to say no to. They recommend Glaciate here, which is Kyurem's, and I say here, I'm getting this set from Smogon. Glaciate is Kyurem's signature ability. It's 65 base power, 95% accuracy, and is guaranteed to lower the target's speed by a stage. It's a useful utility. Ice is a good type to have coverage for, but I know how frustrating it can be when you don't have when you have a dual type Pokemon and you only have stab for one of those two types, especially if it's a type like Psychic. Psychic is such a great type to have with its super effectiveness against fighting types and poison types. So while there are instances where maybe you would say, I probably don't need both types to be covered in my moveset. Maybe in an instance like if a Pokemon has poison as its secondary type, although that's sort of changed now that it's super effective against Fairy in Gen 6. Psychic is one that there's so many fighting type Pokemon out there that it's hard for me to give up on that. Fighting is a very common type given how many steel and rock types can be in the meta. So having Psychic to defend against that is a good idea. So I would recommend the move Psychic over Glaciate, but I do recognize that Glaciate gives a lot of utility against dragons and can sort of stop sweepers in their tracks by lowering their speed. But I thought I would give you my 2 cents to sort of customize the set a little bit. And then I would recommend, as they do, either Energy Ball or Grass Knot, depending on if you expect to go against a lot of heavy Pokemon. I would typically just do Energy Ball because that way that I don't like all of those variables. Because grass is a good type to have. It's good against ground. It's good against rock. Water is a type that you can have a lot of trouble with because it's only weak to electric and grass. So having access to that grass move can be helpful. I think that's it. I think I covered everything, right?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool.
There you go. There's some Victini for you. If you get a shiny one, it's going to be white instead of orange, yellow, pale orange. Let's say it's orange. So it's going to be white instead. Pretty cool. Victini was first shown in the preview of the 14th Pokemon movie at the end of Zoroark, Masters of Illusion. Victini's Unova Pokedex number is 000, making it the first Pokemon to legitimately have the number 000 in any Pokedex listing. Victini is the only Pokemon to be listed before the starter Pokemon of its native region. Victini is the only mythical Pokemon or of a later generation to appear next to a mythical Pokemon of an earlier generation. Man, these facts, they're just off the chart. Victini has a shiny sprite. Pokemon Black and White are programmed so that the shiny Victini cannot be encountered. It shares its traits with Reshiram and Zekrom. According to IGN's interview, Victini is Masuda's favorite Generation 5 Pokemon. Victini was designed by Mana Ibel, and it was meant to appeal more to girls than boys. I want to click on this name real quick. We shouldn't do this in an audio podcast. We go down this train of not knowing. Mana Ibel is a graphic designer who worked for the Pokemon trading card game and video game series. Ibel's first known involvement of the Pokemon franchise was in the staff of Pokemon Platinum under Special Thanks. She later illustrated a card in the Arceus expansion, Manectric. In Pokemon Black and White, she's listed under Pokemon Designer. And here are the Pokemon she created. Victini, Herdier, Daramuka, Darmanitan, Ilmoga, Frillish, Jellicent, Axufracture, Haxorus, Stunfisk, and Klefki.
Those are some great designs. She's great. I love all those Pokemon.
Yeah, that's cool. It's weird that she didn't design Lillipup or Stoutland, but she did Herdier. I think that's
strange.
That's interesting. She
maybe Herdier was designed first, and then some other people designed around Herdier.
Maybe, yeah. She was Pokemon character design in Black and White 2, Black and White, and Pokemon character design in X and Y, and Pokemon character design and a 3D art director in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So I'm not sure if she designed anything for Sun and Moon, but I guess we'll find out. And finally, in Black and White 2, if Victini is taken to Liberty Garden, it comes out of its Pokeball and dances around happily. Conceptually, it might be drawn from inspiration from Nike, the Greek winged goddess of victory, or Victoria, the Roman equivalent of Nike. Is it Nike?
I'm not familiar with this deity.
There you go. Its theme of V could be linked to somewhat the 5th generation's mascot, V being the Roman numeral for 5. V also derived from the initial of victory. Victini has a lot going for it. It made our list.
It's a great Pokemon. Yeah.
It made the list. That wraps up our show for you guys. It was a long one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I haven't heard anyone complain that the episodes were too long. So I guess that's a good sign.
Just me.
Just Travis. I hope you guys enjoyed the stuff with Adam. Super great dude. I'll be trying to get a couple more people on before the end of the year. Obviously, timing is the hardest part. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. It's something I enjoy doing. I definitely enjoy Gaijinhunter and the videos that are put out. It's usually the first thing that is linked to in the Monster Hunter channel in Slack. So if you guys dig it, totally. If you thinking about getting into Monster Hunter, if that's another game you want to play, there are more than enough people that will be willing to help you out in Slack, myself included. But Travis, is that the Travis W?
Can I jump in and plug something else?
Yeah, plug away.
You ever just make a podcast on a lark?
All the time.
You ever just think, I should make a new podcast today? Well, that was me a few days ago. My brother and I used to run a podcast called The Real House, which was unfortunately named because it included not only a pun that was hard to understand because it was supposed to be wheelhouse, like the concept of, oh, that's in our wheelhouse, but real house because we talked about movies. But that was unfortunate because we also talked about music, so it didn't really play. It was a bad marketing decision to name it that. We've made a new podcast and are probably making all of the same poor marketing decisions. The show is called Arbitrary Archive. My brother and I have recently both gotten jobs moonlighting at an undisclosed data center, and on our third day on the job, we discovered a self-aware AI buried in a back room. The AI introduced itself as Jeff. That's J.E.F.F. as it's an acronym. We don't know for what yet. And Jeff instructed us that in some undisclosed time in the future, there will be what he calls the flood, which will destroy all of human culture. And each week, Jeff gives us a word. Our first episode, the word was hot dog. So DJ and I had to each pick a piece of media independently that had to do with the word hot dog and review it. At the end of the week, we got our second word, which is beginning. So we both have to pick some media, whether it be movie, TV show, video game, album, that has to do with beginning for our second episode, and we'll review it. And that's how the show's going to go. We have to catalog all of human culture one word at a time. And that's at arbitraryarchive.com or soundcloud.com/arbitraryarchive. It's not in iTunes yet as we're recording this. Perhaps the RSS feed will be approved by iTunes by the time you listen. And then at that point, I assume you could just search Arbitrary Archive and find us there too.
I have not listened to it yet, but I cannot wait.
It's kind of silly.
If you haven't done so, speaking of iTunes, if you haven't done so already, please leave us a review on iTunes. If you haven't, it's we're trying to get to 700 before the end of the year, and I think it is doable as we are at like 640. And Dungeons and Dragonites every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. If you want to see
Excuse me, it's called Mythical.
Oh yeah, sorry. Mythical mazes and Magikarps, I should say.
You're the one who changed the name.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's been like 6 months since we started this. Mazes and Magikarps Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. If you want to see an actual play podcast that is a just Pokemon inspired D&D. And that wraps our show. I am at Dragging a Lake. Travis is at the Travis W. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Pokemon Podcast. And this episode is. Wait, no, that's the wrong podcast. Hold on.
No, yeah.
This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective. What a dirty dog.